No, I've got.
Spread it out,
Okay, is everybody else set? Oh. Did anyone want to sign in to address the board on agenda items? On agenda items? Else want to sign in to address the board on agenda items? Right. A regular meeting of the Delta County Commissioners is being held this date pursuant to the following call. In a letter to the Commissioners dated November 2nd, 2023, and reading as follows. The Honorable Members of the Delta County Board of Commissioners, dear Commissioners, a regular meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners is scheduled for Tuesday, November 7th, 2023 at 5 p.m. in the conference room of the Delta County Service Center. Sincerely yours, Nancy Presraki, Delta County Clerk. Please rise for a word of prayer. Lord, as we begin this meeting, we are thankful for our many blessings. We ask for guidance to help our commissioners make decisions in the best interest of the citizens of our county, and we pray for the safety of our military men and women. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Commissioner Milner. Here. Commissioner View. Here. Commissioner Barron. Here. Commissioner Moyle. Here. And Commissioner Peterson.
Here. All right, the meeting of the County Commission will come to order. Thank you, Clerk. We have special orders of business tonight, and that would be the Commissioner's Informational Workshop. I think there are a couple of you that wanted to add things on here or go into a discussion, so I'll leave it open for whoever wants to start.
I had something I was going to bring up tonight, but I was asked to hold off on that for, so.
Commissioner Peterson, all right. Any other commissioners, please, bring it forward.
I would like to talk openly about the attorney's memorandum that was sent to the full board, so we can get a lot of that confusion put behind us and move forward with, would work best according to our policies, laws that we're supposed to follow by.
As you will, sir. Thank you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, did everyone receive that memorandum?
one, Bob, that was the one we had when we had the meeting with Lauren? And-
No,
No, she sent it, email. Mistaken?
I gotta see if I have it. I sent it, I thought I sent it to everybody, and I know a couple of yous had a hard time opening it for whatever reason. I might have had the wrong email address, or something didn't work right. But there were, from what I can remember, and I didn't print it out, I was hoping it would be in our packets. If I can find,
Take your time.
get nervous up here, trying to accommodate everybody. Let me,
Yeah,
It
she
came
sent
in,
it on
it came in the
10:30.
email on 10/30/23.
okay, let me go back to that then. It's October 30th. I mean, I don't know if we, could we have Lauren come up here and explain each item individually, and we can discuss them one by one?
If you want,
I mean, I would
That's whatever.
appreciate that,
whatever the board wants.
that would help me tremendously
Well,
trying
this
to
is a
look at it.
workshop, so anybody should be able to talk.
Yes, well, that's why I want to get it here, so that we can get it on the agenda.
Not anybody can just talk, we have to allow them to talk.
Yeah, well, Commissioner Barron's point is, people we invite, absolutely, but it's just not a free-for-all, but I have no problem listening. Any other questions or comments?
No, I'd just like her to start out with
Welcome.
one issue at a time and let us discuss it, and then go on to the next one, so that we can have a great understanding with the public and the commission on what direction we should go to when we go into regular session. Thank you.
Absolutely. To answer the question that wasn't necessarily asked while I was up here, it is the same one that I provided in our meeting, Mr. Moyle.
Thank you.
It's just a digital copy versus the printed
Appreciate
copy. You want me to start right at the top then?
Yes.
Okay. As
I
I
do.
explained, going back, the first issue, and my thing shut down. I believe the first issue relates to civil council, is that correct?
I wish to provide this board with further background and information regarding issues I raised at October 10, 2023 board meeting. Specifically, memos provided additional information regarding the following.
Yep. So the first memo, or the first issue on the memo, being the civil council issue. Basically, it boils down to three options this board has. Whatever the option is the option the board takes. One, that it remained the way it was prior to the August meetings, where we're designated as civil council. Everything kind of sifts through our office. If it's something that MMRMA, the insurance company, would take, then they can take the litigation aspect. And that's option number one, basically. At that, then Mr. Graham or any outside counsel, if that opinion is wanted, and that's come up on a couple occasions. The one I can think of was an election issue last year that our office was involved in, so we had a conflict. This board voted and said there's a conflict. We can't ask our in-house counsel, so we're going to ask outside counsel to give us an opinion on that matter. So it can be done on a case-by-case basis. It can be done on a basis where I deem that I have a conflict, or maybe it's a more complex piece of litigation that our office doesn't have the manpower to handle in that instance. So it may be something that I bring to you and say, this is something I can't handle in this instance, so I'm asking you to hire outside counsel. Option number two would be having Mr. Graham or outside counsel be the primary civil counsel. From there, it would be determining whether or not, what if any coverage would still be utilized for MMRMA. In that instance, our office could not be involved, considering those statutes that I've highlighted on a couple occasions. So that's one of the, those are essentially kind of the options. One, outside counsel is only determined on a case-by-case, or outside counsel is utilized all the time and our office is not utilized. That's a decision the board has to make in terms of how you'd like to go about that. And my big concern is that based on the statute and the case law, that has to be done specifically by a board vote. That's actually what makes that law constitutional. I'm reading the case out of Wayne County that is the case on point. The Supreme Court looked at the fact that you're taking away basically a power from my office, power from the prosecutor's office. So in order to take away a power, you have to go through a legislative process on that. that's where they've delegated that to the board to say, the board at the county level is gonna be in the best position to determine whether or not the prosecutor is able to handle that specific case, the caseload as a whole, or the county board's comfortable with the prosecutor handling it. They didn't want to overstep and have the state legislature make that determination because they don't know each county's individual needs. So whatever the decision is, whether it's a case-by-case basis or whether it's outside counsel as a whole, a decision needs to be placed on the record. If it's outside counsel as a whole, my suggestion from reading the case law would be to pass almost a resolution outlining those reasonings. And so each and every year, if it's readdressed, you have that to fall back on, as well as just the documentation of those reasons will be maintained and be easier to find in the future of this instance or these instances, we want outside counsel.
I have a question for the chair. Mr. Chair, can I have you explain to the commission, or at least to me, the reason we are not following what we did before? I mean, is there something, explain how it's gonna work really a lot better, more effective, more efficient.
I can explain my logic to you. I don't know that, Nimbus that will enlighten you.
Nimbus,
Brain intellect.
it's above my head.
First of all, when I had first gotten elected, 2010, we had used Burkhart, and we had used that law firm, and it wasn't cheap.
No.
They were corporate counsel. It wasn't until Phil got on that we started using our prosecutor for our corporate counsel. Now, I do not, and Lauren, myself, Bob, Sheriff, met on the 30th, and I thought we had what was a good meeting. And I do apologize if you felt like, you know, you were, in your absence, you had your legs ripped out from under you. That wasn't my intention. Mr. Graham has never been my counsel. I can't state that enough, and I can't stress that enough, okay? We would be the only county in the state of Michigan with resource that would be having, and I believe this is putting our prosecutor and the public in a rough spot. This is not a condemnation of Lauren. It is not saying, I never said she was not adequate as a lawyer, as you know, some other articles might point out. What I believe is that we could be avoiding a terrific conflict of interests. I believe she is shorthanded. I believe as we've taken the first step already in giving her staff more money, we need to get her another assistant to help her meet the workload that has been placed on her office. Doing that, giving her what she needs is, I guess, our obligation, our duty, but having somebody outside of our prosecuting position be our corporate counsel is, in my opinion, if you look at the rest of the counties in the state of Michigan, the right thing to do. Now, if we have to do some house cleaning with this, or some housework, that's absolutely fine to follow a few steps. I contacted Mr. Graham and I said, is it possible you and Lauren can talk? He said, yes. So there is the potential that we could see a potential relationship develop there to where those two could communicate amongst each other to help us decide what's the best for the peoples in terms of the day-to-day business. So I would invite this board to keep personalities out of this. This isn't me kicking my buddy, if you know anything about law, because first of all, he's not my buddy. Secondly, we're not kicking him a deal. He's giving us a whale of a deal. And I do believe we can have the best of both worlds here. We can have a situation, because we have somebody who's right here. If the two counselors discuss things amongst themselves and come up with an ability, we might be able to have the best of both worlds. Maybe not, maybe I'm naive, but that would be my logic, sir.
Okay, but you mentioned a lot of stuff that I wasn't interested in.
Well, I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, personalities and all this other stuff, I was trying to get to the crux of being able to do what's proper for the citizens in our representation. Number one, the prosecuting office said they had time to do what we needed done on a day-to-day basis in small items. I went around and I asked different departments, I didn't get them all, and I asked how they felt about not being able to just take the phone and or shoot an email and say something on maybe an employee issue or a small issue where they're gonna miss that. That's gonna hurt our county tremendously if we have to, every time, make a 5-minute phone call to an outside attorney to look at an issue, and it's gonna cost us minimum of a half hour, $100. I mean, that's what I'm looking at. The other thing, like I said, the office can do it, they're capable of doing it. We never forfeit or gave up our rights as a body of the whole to basically, on a case-by-case basis, get somebody in here to give us the best service that we need for whatever the incident's gonna be that we need someone for.
If I may know?
Yes, sir.
There's a couple of things, and Lauren, absolutely no offense, okay? We just got a letter from Lauren stating that she was backed up and that she was undermanned. So that, and we addressed that, or started addressing that in the finance committee meeting to help her get somebody else in. Now, I want the best of both worlds too. And at least in my mind was that the day-to-day stuff would go to Lauren. The issues, the bigger issues that we felt that we wanted outside counsel, we would use Attorney Graham. It's a matter of working out how that all fits together, and that was why when we had our meeting, Commissioner Moyle and the sheriff and I had our meeting with Lauren, I asked if her and Attorney Graham could speak to each other, and maybe they could get together and work something out and bring it back to us, an idea how the two would fit together. Now, I don't want to see, I just had an issue that I talked to, I got a hold of Lauren to talk to about. I don't think that every little thing that happens in the county got to go to Scott Graham. I think the small day-to-day stuff, personally, if we can work it out so that it happens, we can use Attorney Lauren for that. Lauren, I'm sorry, I still don't know how to address you, I'm trying to
You're
figure
fine.
that out. But anyway, I think that there are many instances that we don't want to bother Scott Graham about, and we don't want to pay to have Scott Graham look at these smaller issues that are day-to-day. When we get into issues, we've still got to look at zoning coming up. And this is where I brought up in the very beginning, when I first sat down at the board, we were going to have to deal with this zoning issue. And I wanted to talk to an attorney about it. At that time, I was told I couldn't. Not without the entire board being there. But anyway, that might be an issue where we might decide that Scott Graham would be the better choice to talk to about that. Some of the stuff that's coming up with the courts and the sheriff, that might be something we would want to have Scott Graham look at. Like I said, the other small day-to-day stuff, and if we can work it out and keep everybody going and happy, that's the way I want to go. But I never, at least as far as I was concerned, never meant to cut Lauren out completely.
John, please.
First of all, we are not the only county that uses our prosecutor. There's at least 13 more counties that use their prosecutors. So we're not the only one. Second of all, why would Scott Graham give us a deal for a county that he's never been in?
I can answer that if you want.
Please.
In discussing this with him, I asked him the same question, John. I said, Scott, I really don't know you, and I've got to ask you this question. What gives here? Because I'm well aware of how much the guy could charge. And he said, prior to retiring, I want to help as many people as I can, as possible, in doing a job. that got twisted to Dave Boyles giving his buddy a good deal. I couldn't afford him, quite honestly. And I take him at face value. He wants to do something in which he can help as many people as he can prior to retiring. He's not gonna charge the county if anybody on this commission wants to talk to him and discuss that with him. As you, I would hope you've learned by now, he's not a clock watcher. He's not, he doesn't bill us. Has he billed us yet? Pardon me?
I have not received an invoice.
Well, Bob talked to him, you're welcome to talk to him, anybody's welcome to talk and ask him the same question. He's just a tough question. So that's just,
But just so everybody knows, we are not the only county that uses our prosecutor.
do you have other examples? I'd be interested.
Yes, lots of them.
Yes.
Well, I mean, out of the 13, who?
Dickinson County.
Yeah, we had an email today from somebody, I can't remember who it was,
Yeah.
that was stating that.
Plus, Mr. Chair, when you first made that statement a month or so ago, or six, whatever, the next day, all I did is research on counties that use their prosecuting office as a first resource, and I found 5 of them within 1 hour. Five counties that dispute what you say.
What I said was to the best of my knowledge. I never said
Right,
prima
well,
facie.
and I increased my knowledge by looking into it, and there are a lot of counties that use it. I called some of them up, and what the other ones do is they have an internal, they hire an attorney just for the commission. They're at the commission all the time, but they're bigger counties, and I can understand that. Some of them share an attorney between different
I
municipalities.
think the city of Escanaba has their own attorneys, so I mean, different municipalities.
Right, but with our county, I just thought that, if I understand it right, what Mr. Commissioner Peterson just said, I don't think that's what we passed. I thought we passed that. First step was our administrator will call Mr. Graham. Mr. Graham will tell our board or the administrator who to use. It's almost the opposite. We got an outsider coming in telling us how we need somebody, and I'm sure he's gonna charge us for that, or is that gonna be free? If that's free, I
I'll
may,
talk to him about that. I don't want to speak for him. But I can tell you this, based on what you just said, I think that the meeting on the 30th between Bob and myself and our prosecutor was a fruitful meeting, and it was a meeting in which I asked if she'd be willing to talk to him, and she said yes, and so I reached out to him and said, would you be willing to talk to her? And he said yes.
well, can I have that policy read to us that we passed last time on our attorney representation on the whole procedure? Do you have that, Nancy, or not? I don't wanna put you on the spot if you don't. But I think it's important to know what we passed at the last meeting. Because it's not what we're trying to accommodate today.
We're discussing something, not really trying to accommodate right now, but we were discussing this.
Well, I'm trying to get it settled so that it's behind us.
Does any other commissioners, while they look, have any questions or statements?
Yes,
Mr. Barron?
on the, Lauren has said in her information here that the day-to-day stuff, that different departments directly contact the prosecutor's office. It would seem that there should be a step to the administrator before this takes place.
I would agree to that. I think the request could go to Ashley first.
100%.
Maybe that phone call with Lauren and Scott should include Ashley too, and the 3 of them can hash out how it works. I don't know. I'm looking for the best way to deal with this and not wind up throwing the county under the bus in the end game.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make another comment.
Yes, sir.
I think prior boards, I haven't been here that long, and I know some of us have, but prior boards have went through this process and figured out what was working really well, effective, efficient, and probably cost-effective. And I'm just supporting that till I see something different. You know, because we had an attorney that we called all the time. And what was it? Commissioner Melner, can you enlighten me on, because you're the one that kind of told me this, so enlighten me what it used to cost us.
I believe it was close to 200,000 a year.
Burkhart never went 200, he was
No.
between 1 and
150?
125. And occasion, once he hit 150.
Okay.
He also saved us 300,000 that year in negotiations. So if you do the math, in terms of, I'm one vote in this commission, that's it. Okay, I understand that. But in terms of legal representation, and I'm not talking about Lauren like she's not here, she's done everything, and I acknowledge that, Madam Prosecutor, standing in front of me, she's done everything we've asked her to do, and I think to the best of her ability. But in terms of excluding legal representation, I don't want to be penny wise and pound foolish, because that could get very painful financially, the same way it could if we got drug into court. There's always a risk in the law game of, what's going to happen in litigation. So I am interested, and I never have been interested in cutting our prosecutor out of it, so to speak, the day-to-day. But I want to make sure, first of all, that she has ample manpower, if you will, or person power in her office to attend to the challenges of her job before we start asking her to write opinions or, so once we've got that taken care of and she's got the people she needs and the wages that they need, then that's fine. But I see this as a positive thing, her and Graham getting together and talking.
Lauren, have you ever had a problem with answering our questions
No.
because of manpower or anything?
No, we make it a priority.
Yes, that's it, yeah.
It, as long as I have some semblance of notice, it's usually not an issue. The ones we run into is if it's, the morning of, the date of, and that's simply because, we do have one, other things going on, but two, it usually involves pretty extensive research. So if we're juggling a couple different things with only about 24 hours notice, that's when it becomes difficult, but I think that'd be difficult for anybody.
And at that time, if you were overloaded or something else, you would say it at that time.
Oh, absolutely. And I think there's possibly something that, happens where there is an instance where we need to have our office come out of it, whether it's a conflict of interest, whether it is too arduous of a litigation issue. I can't predict the future. I reiterate that, yes, I have no problem speaking with Mr. Graham. My concern comes in trying to, I guess, categorize that our office is going to do this category type of cases, his office is going to handle this type of category of cases, because law is unfortunately never that straightforward. It's going to cross over a lot of lines. And what I'm hearing, and I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, I think the simplest, cleanest way to do that is to keep everyone still involved, whether that's my office or Mr. Graham, is instead of having Mr. Graham filter those cases, is our office filter those cases. Or if there's an instance where, such as the zoning issue, that I'm sure is going to be highly complex and is going to include a lot of detailed research. That may be something as I start looking at the problem, we don't have time for, especially depending on the timing of that issue as it comes about. I come to you and say this is something that our office can't handle at this point, or you say Mr. Graham has the background in zoning more than Ms. Wickman, Ms. Wickwire, the office as a whole. We want to skip over and just have Mr. Graham handle that case. That is also where I'm saying the case-by-case basis. Not having spoken with Mr. Graham as of yet, I don't know what his intent is on things. I don't know if he wants to handle the day-to-day questions, maybe the brief legal interpretations Ashley has on a contract or something to that effect. Those are most of it. And when I say that the department heads coming to our office, the department heads 90% of the time do come through administration before they end up in our office with the question. But it's still a question that they don't know where to go with, or have a legal question and have to go for that direction. And so just from an efficiency standpoint, that's also one of my concerns. Some of these things need quick turnaround.
If I may, at this point, and this is, you guys, I'm, like Dave says, I'm only one person, but I think that doing anything, taking up any action or anything at this point until you and Attorney Graham speak is wasting time.
I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah,
I
you know,
just don't
if you-
want to keep kicking things down the road.
No, and I don't want to either, trust me, I don't want to either, I want this done and out of our hair. But I think that once you and Mr. Graham speak, that you could come back and we could address this for a last time.
Absolutely.
Any other questions for Lauren? Yes, don't worry about it if you're.
Well, I wanted to know what it was, because I think we're talking in circles here. We say one thing one meeting, the next meeting we change it, and and I'm not disrespectful.
You don't
But-
have to be, just.
Well, I'm not trying to be
You're
by-
your right to speak.
Okay, but it's really causing me to give explanations to people that I can't back up on what's going on. I do get a lot of calls on my position that I talk here and my position that is being spread out into the
We
public.
did change directions. I accept responsibility for that. We were going east and we turned and we went west. I can see where a prosecutor would have been irritated by that. And
Me too.
that's fine. I accept responsibility for what I've done. And for what it's worth, I don't enjoy disagreeing with our top cop. All right? It's not a position I enjoy finding myself in. But the board voted by a supermajority to do what it's gonna do. If you wanna bring something up, to have us revisit something again, you have that right.
What's a supermajority? What does that mean?
5 people are on the board, 60%.
Just a majority then? Is it
Well,
a
the
super?
first time in August, we voted, and it was supposed to be Lauren,
And like I said,
And
then we
then-
were going east, and we
right,
switched and went
and we
west. I'll take
voted
responsibility.
5-0 on that. Then in September, it ended up being a 3-2 vote.
So do we want to continue to beat this today, or do we want to have,
Well, it's a workshop. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's what we're done talking
We're not
about.
beating on them.
well, I'm just saying, we're going around in circles like you said. And maybe if we wait and Lauren can talk to Mr. Graham, come back to us, and by that time, we could come up with what was passed at that meeting, and just get this done.
Is it in our minutes? Is that resolution in our minutes tonight?
I'm sorry, sir?
Is that resolution in our minutes tonight that we passed? I just want to hear what it was, because it sounds like it's not exactly what we thought.
Go ahead, Ashley.
So on September 19th, it was just a verbal adjustment to the policy. It wasn't a written documentation that was submitted. It was an added agenda item.
We didn't vote on nothing?
We did. It was added agenda item, and it was just a verbal statement, I believe, can't remember which, let's see, Commissioner Barron, and second by Commissioner Peterson,
To do what?
to change, let's see, to adopt the rules of procedure decorum in order at public meeting as presented.
That it wasn't what I was talking about. I was talking about the order of council.
And that was what was in that motion, was the order.
What is that order, please?
It was, right, isn't that what you have? Number 81. Oh, I'm sorry, I read the wrong line.
Sorry.
So it's number 2, it was, to restructure council request to Attorney Graham, then Murma, and then prosecuting attorney. And it was a roll call vote. And it was 4-1, or, yeah, 4-1.
Guys, you need it quiet in the audience, please.
It was.
To put Graham first?
Ashley's correct. I just pulled those minutes up.
Or to call the question, and then, I'm sorry, 3-2,
3-2 on the further part of it.
scrolling down.
I thought I lost my mind. No, because I'm so confused now that,
You're fine.
I
well, I
apologize.
know I'm
We were
fine,
going
but
east, then we went back west. Like I said, I accept responsibility for that. The last vote that we cast was a 3-2, to go to Graham first, then MMRMA, and then to our prosecutor. Since then, we have decided to have ask our prosecutor, Mr. Graham, to talk.
I would like to add the chair in there and also Commissioner Melner. I want our two most highest,
Decrepit,
no,
senior.
experienced senior people.
I'm joking.
I would like them to sit on that meeting also, because I really think that, I'm not in favor of our board given the authority to have two people decide on how our county is representative. Just like before, you said the board is the final say. I would like our board to be the final say in the end, which it will be. But to decide it seems
Commissioner,
like,
we made a say, we made a vote. You didn't agree with the vote, and it is your right to bring it back up again as a commissioner.
I don't like doing that, though.
I'm sorry, I mean, that's, I didn't like doing it when I did it, I felt like hell.
I mean, I'll do it if I have to, but
That is your right. Any other comments, please, on this issue? Thank you, Lauren, I appreciate your time. All right, very good, we will move on. Any other issues on our informational workshop? Very good. We have the approval of the minutes of the last meeting, as noted by Christine Williams. It didn't appear that she had spoken on her general public comment. Could you please make that note? And then I would need a motion to accept that.
So moved as amended.
So,
Support.
So Commissioner Barron moves. Who made it support, please?
I did.
Commissioner Melner supports. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That would pass. The approval of tonight's agenda, please.
The approval of the agenda?
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Barron and supported by Commissioner Peterson. All those in favor of accepting the agenda as submitted signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. Communications received and forwarded. Ashley? I have some when you're done.
We have 11 communications received and 19 communications forwarded.
Very good. This down. I have a check from the Michigan County's Workmen's Compensation Fund for $55,247. It is the workmen's compensation insurance that we buy into. And right now, this year, it paid us 56% on our investment. And that is a free and clear check that we've been doing this since 1979. We're one of the few counties that are original. And I don't know anywhere else you can go with that. Now, in addition to that, when I was down in Novi last week for the meeting, I hooked Delta County up free of charge. The only thing that has to happen is this commission has to bless it or snow can it. First Amendment auditor training. All right? I was not the one who I don't know Chili DeCastro, I've never met the guy, but I was tangled with having brought him in, which is it's a lie. So I wanted to put my money where my mouth is, and we will have somebody from the state of Michigan and the Workmen's Compensation Trust Fund actually come up and offer free of charge to our employees that training, how to deal with a First Amendment auditor. And I think it could be a wonderful experience for our employees, and help us, basically we put our money where our mouth is and back up our employees. If you're interested, great. If you're not, well, we won't do it. I, for one, am interested.
I would be interested in that.
And so that would come up, that would be if you're interested, if you have no problem with it, I'll give Ashley the contact info. Again, it's not a buddy of mine, he's not making any money. It would be a service that we add to our employees. That's all I have for my communications received and forwarded. Do we have a motion to put those on file and accept the check?
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion, I'm sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, reports of standing statutory special committees and others.
We have 3 months of board minutes from the Delta Solid Waste Authority, 2 months from the Community Action Agency, 1 month from the Human Services Board, and 1 month from Pinecrest. And we also have 1 month from the Township Association.
Motion to put on file.
I'd make a motion to put it on file.
So
Moved by
moved.
Commissioner Peterson, supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Very good. We have one person, Sandy Stovey, you are signed up to address the board on an agenda item. Thank you.
My item that I'd like to address is per diem for the board. And in my opinion, the board should be encouraged to go to all the meetings of the committees that they're assigned to. And I'm wondering if I am allowed to play an audio of something that I came across that's very disturbing. Am I allowed to do that?
Well, if I'm not swearing in the audio, I suppose you should.
For advisory committee meetings. How many of you get the IRS mileage? Motion to kill per diem. We'll see who seconds it.
Thank you for not
Well,
having
that
me on
wasn't
any
the-
of the mics. Send
That
these
wasn't the
mics.
whole thing, but you get the idea.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, so we have, anybody else wishes to address the board on agenda items? Very good, we will move forward. We have committee reports. Start with the administrative report, please.
On October 31st, the Building and Grounds Committee met to discuss the progress on some of the projects. The largest project is the relocation of utilities. It was brought to my attention that many individuals in the community did not know the reason for this project, but it has cost the county thousands of dollars. This project was necessary since the sale of the old jail site to the Terrace Bay Group. All of the courthouse utilities were run from the old jail site to the courthouse. Since Delta County sold that property, we had to move those utilities. This project was expected to cost the county $690,000. As the project progressed, we were approached by our contractors regarding the electrical plans developed by our engineers. These plans left a lot of holes and errors that our local contractors had to troubleshoot to keep the project moving forward. However, these troubleshoots came with a cost that were not projected. The utility project has increased $30,000. Currently, administration is discussing deducts from our engineers as some of these costs, such as expedite and lot discounts, could have been reduced if properly developed in the plans. ARP funds. Commissioner Melner requested me to put out, during our building and grounds meeting, the rescue plan monies, updates, and their purposes. So attached, you will see a table of how we decided to spend, or the county approved to spend the $6.9 million Opioid settlement. Commissioner View and I are planning on presenting to the board an idea of an opioid task force. We planned on presenting this idea to the board this meeting. However, due to some unforeseen circumstance, we were not able to meet. Our ideas seem to align with this task force as an essential piece of stakeholder engagement that will aid in gathering information, determine the process moving forward, and monitoring the opioid epidemic. I also attended the public health meeting to introduce myself. One piece of information I'd like to share with the citizens of Delta County is that the health department will be offering mobile services in the spring of 2024. This means that townships are able to host healthcare clinics conveniently at their town halls or other locations instead of having residents needing to travel to town. Thank you.
Thank you. I would need a motion to place Ashley's report on file.
I'll make the motion to report,
Support.
to do that.
Okay, so moved by Bob, supported by Bob. Additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes. Building and Grounds Committee minutes, Mr. Miller?
Well, Ashley kind of said what we were doing and everything else, and the extra money is going to come from the art money. She's going to move some things around because some things aren't going to be done. The park up in Rapid River, the money that we allocated to that is no longer, because we cut that deal. So we're gonna take some of that money to pay off the extra,
Unfunded mandate.
yeah.
Very good, sir. All right, we have a motion to place that committee's minutes on file.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner View,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion. All those in favor of this passing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that would pass. Mr. Barron, Finance Committee meetings of 10/18/23?
10:18 and 10:31.
I'm sorry.
Yes, some of the items are going to be on our agenda further down. One of the items we did on 10:31 was pertaining to the district court consultant continuation. Commissioner Peterson and I, in discussion at the meeting, felt that this is the beginning of their fiscal year as far as the county and all of its departments, and that the Judge Parks oversees his budget and his personnel, and that this would be a normal function under his care. Would that be correct, Bob?
Correct.
Yeah. So we didn't take any action. And then one of the items that's coming up is the update travel reimbursement. Sheriff Oswald presented that. And we have there's another issue with the overlapping officer, that there's an officer leaving. Technically will be gone the 1st of December, but is not retiring until, I believe, the 1st of February, or somewhere in that neighborhood. So they need to have someone in that position by the 1st of February. See what else. And then we have an issue with the part-time circuit court, or temporary part-time jury officer, because they have a person going off on medical leave for a couple weeks. So I believe all these are coming up, aren't they, Ashley?
Yes.
Yes, so and then we did have another item that we tabled, was the purchase of a tractor, basically for the parks and other uses in the county, but mainly the parks. But we tabled it because we need some further information. There were some questions there, and the information wasn't enough for us to make a decision. So I'd make a motion to put these on file.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron,
I'll support that.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion to put the Finance Committee minutes on file of two separate dates. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that would pass. Department head updates, please. This is the time where department heads would update with the county board. Anything? Seeing none, we will move on to general orders of business and unfinished business. And our first item would be the civil attorney's stipend increase. Ashley?
The prosecutor was requesting an increase for civil services by $6,000, which is $12,000 for the year. However, if the port is not using the prosecutor's office for civil services, this request is no longer necessary.
Well, seeing as how we're in the middle of the, working with the attorneys, Graham and Rickman, I suggest that we hold off on that one until that we get that worked out to decide whether what we're gonna do with
Table it.
table it. Right.
We need a motion to table.
I'll make a motion to table that until further
Support.
information.
Moved by Commissioner Peterson, supported by Commissioner View. Additional discussion. Those in favor of tabling this item signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would be tabled. All right, per diem discussion, please. Item number 2 under old business.
The Personnel Committee and the Finance Committee have recommended an increase for the per diem schedule of meetings 2 hours or less at $20, and for $10 an hour after the initial 2 hours have been met, up to a maximum of $100 a day. The differences in recommendations lie with the effective date. The Personnel Committee has recommended the date be effective of 1/1/24, while the Finance Committee recommends the date begin after the election of 1/1/25.
Commissioners, what is your pleasure and what do you wish to discuss?
As I've stated before, with the wages that are in effect right now in this county and the number of people that need to be hired, I do not feel it proper for us to take a raise at this time. But I do not mind passing this on so that the next board coming in has the opportunity to do that. And I'll just get, when I first sat on this board, my thought was that I'm gonna come in, I'm gonna look at the finances for this county, and we're gonna do something to bring it down. Bring down wages, bring down employees, whatever we had to do. In my time here, I have found out that our wages are lower than what they should be, and that almost every department needs some help. So at this time, I do not feel comfortable giving myself a raise. And I would, like I said, we can vote on this, we can put it in effect for the next board that comes in. I think that's a fair way to go.
Anybody else?
I'm in agreement with Commissioner Peterson, and if you're in need of a motion, I would make a motion that this would be accepted effective 1/1/25.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Barron,
I'll support that.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. All asked to be here, and so we all receive a monthly wage. For those of you who have come out from parts unknown to get to your committee meetings, I understand that you should have your gas covered. That the IRS wage, in my opinion, is somebody who drives a lot is a pretty generous per diem per mile. I, in good faith, cannot support this until we take care of our Veteran Services Officer, regardless of when this is to take effect. Because there's a guy doing more with less. And I think we need to take care of him before we take care of any future commission. That's just my 2 cents. Anybody else, please?
Well, let me I don't care if the commission gets per diem more, even though I think it's wrong, because how often has a review been conducted? Can somebody tell me that?
I've been here 13 years and I haven't seen one.
Me neither.
So it's pretty outdated. And I'm not trying to toot any horns, but I think some commissioners do a lot more than others, and are involved in a lot more than other things. And also, commissioners, whether you realize it or not, and I know Commissioner Peterson has lost income. I know other commissioners have. What we're asking here is, I can't see why we're passing it on to the next generation of commission that sits here. And this also affects all boards. And when I checked around, I think they deserve that cost of living thing, because it's never went up. That's why we have people come in and, do different things, and they quit right away. Nobody should have to worry about losing their pay to serve, to be a public servant. Why do you want to hold off so long? I mean, these other things that you talk about, and I'm not against it, that we're underpaid everything. Can you imagine what that's going to do next contract time? When the commission is already saying that everyone deserves huge raises?
Well, I never said that everybody deserves huge raises.
Well,
Or at
that's
least
all-
that's what I didn't mean to imply that. But there are a lot of offices and a lot of employees that are substandard, as we just, we're looking at with the prosecutor's
We're
office.
talking about the pay, just so you're not
Right.
misquoted, yes.
Yes, and I was just talking to somebody in the courthouse today. They need help with janitorial, I guess you call it. There's some other, they got another name for it. But there's
Housekeeping.
housekeeping, exactly. There's offices, departments that are understaffed. There's.
Yes, I agree.
There's individuals who their pay is not adequate. When you're looking at McDonald's paying $17 an hour for somebody to come in and to get benefits, some of our people working in this county aren't making that. And so maybe what we can do is use this per diem and not putting it in place right now as a kick in the butt for us to get going and get some stuff straightened out on that issues.
You didn't think of that back in February.
Excuse me?
I said, we didn't think of that back in February.
What does that have?
We paid people back in February on a temporary basis.
That was a temporary basis. We're trying to work
But
things.
it was huge. That's all I'm saying. I mean, you can't just pick and choose, and
I'm not picking and choosing. I'm just saying that we shouldn't get a raise until we get the
It's
county
not
straightened.
us. Eliminate the commission then. Eliminate the commission, but do all the other boards that we pay.
Make a motion.
There is a motion. It is
Understand
second.
that, but you want to adjust it.
I can't adjust it. You have to vote on it.
But we're in discussion. Ashley, we did talk a little bit about this, that the bulk of the increase of this would be on the board itself, not, it's on this commission. The rest is not, would insignificant be a good word to use? Okay, so we're talking about right here.
Okay, all right. I don't know all the details. All I know is the effort I put in and the amount of time I lose. I take off work for anything that's important for me to be at if it's my obligation that I was appointed to. It's not that I want to take off work, but I feel more obligated towards representing the people. And all I'm asking is that we look at this, because it hasn't been looked at for a long time.
Never been looked at.
Well, never been? Okay, well, I don't know that, I wasn't here then. But in the end, it's not that significant. I go to 6 meetings in one day. Can you imagine? 6 events, not just meetings, but events. You know, I get emails from somebody, hey, we need you here for this. Can you come here for this? As a representative of the county, whether it's from the chamber or a business owner himself having some type of open house, plus my other meetings. And I have to go to my boss and say, I need to take off, and I can't get $10 extra?
Commissioner, I think that, and I could be wrong, but I think I probably get just about as much time working for this county as you do. I'm probably putting
not-
in between 35 and 40 hours a week. As you said, I have lost a lot of wages, probably just about a third my income's down this year. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because I wanted to do something, and like I said, I've never been one to give myself a raise when other people had need. So you bring a motion forward, we'll vote on it, and whatever the board
You have
wants.
a motion on the floor. don't
We do have a
Yes.
motion and a second.
So we're in discussion, so.
Okay.
I'd like to add my 2 cents to this, but anybody else wishing to talk, I don't want to stop you. Meeting that we just had with the sheriff and the prosecutor, I won't bill for. I believe there needs to be a very clear policy as to when a commissioner can bill for a meeting, because we are always getting pulled into meetings that, the meetings that you have been assigned to by the chair or by an action of the board, yes, you should bill for those, even if they go past 3 a day, okay? But these impromptu meetings, and we asked to be here. We, in many cases, fought like hell to be here. So, being here didn't, aggrandize us to a luscious paycheck every month in addition to our wages. And so, I'm not comfortable accepting a wage until we take care of the people who are struggling around the county. That's just my sense. Anybody else counter it, please?
I'd like to make a motion that we move this to question.
We already got a
Calling it
motion.
question. Calling it to question,
All right, so we're calling the question. That would mean we need to vote on the question. All those in favor of moving, oh,
Doesn't he have to have a second?
yeah, he does, I'm sorry. All right.
I'll second that.
Sorry, now that you have a second. We would be voting on moving the question towards a vote. All those in favor of?
Okay, can we specify, read back what we're actually voting on? So-
Yes,
Well, right now you're
we're voting on calling the question, so we will be in a.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, voting on all those in favor to moving this towards a vote signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed. All right, now, please read the motion. Clerk?
Okay, moved by Commissioner Barron and seconded by Commissioner Peterson to increase the per diem from, to for the first 2 hours and $10 per hour after the initial 2 hours, up to $100, effective January 1st, 2025.
Roll call, please.
Melner,
Yes.
View,
No.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
No. Passed then, all right, very good. Okay, so we have, excuse me, we have prosecuting, we're still under unfinished business, the prosecutor's intern.
Prosecutor Wickman is requiring to participate in the PAM, Prosecuting Attorney Association of Michigan Internship Program. This program costs the county $10,000. This will cover the wages, training, and hiring process. The prosecutor would like to note that even if they participate in this program, she is not required to hire one of their candidates. Therefore, if they believe any of those candidates do not fit their office, they will not be required to expend those funds. This cost was already budgeted in the fiscal year '24 budget, so we're looking for approval.
We need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron,
Support?
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion?
Yes, if I can ask Lauren a question. Sorry, Lauren. Up and down, up and down. Maybe, this probably doesn't really have anything to do, but once we fill your other position, this is something you would still be able to use
Correct.
for an extra person yet again?
Correct. So what's nice about it is it kind of creates that pipeline where you're bringing people up from law schools. They pull from all the law schools in Michigan. I started as an intern. We had another attorney in our office started as an intern. And it gets them acquainted with Delta County, our office, and it keeps the idea fresh in everyone's head of this is a great place to work. So even if we were able to fill our assistant role soon, that would be something I'd still want to pursue to kind of keep that pipeline going.
And I would imagine that these people, once they go through this internship, they could be placed in any of our courtrooms. Courts.
Absolutely, they could come up and work in the community as a whole. I mean, the problem with lawyers in the community as a whole is they're retiring and they're not being replaced.
Yeah.
So absolutely, it keeps Delta County relevant, basically, in the eyes of law students.
I really like that idea, and I'm glad you brought it to us.
Thanks.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes unanimously. Prosecutor's Office allocation of the City of Escanaba contracts.
Prosecutor Whitman has also brought this forth. This is the allocation of services rendered by their office for the city of Escanaba. The allocation requested is $4,000 to the prosecutor, $6,000 to the chief assistant, and $28,000 to the attorney line item. That's just an expense line item in her department. The total contract is for $38,000. This is revenue coming in from the city of Escanaba that she performs her services. And if you want to explain what those services
Yeah,
are.
I do.
I
That
figured.
was gonna be my number one question. What are you doing?
So, in addition to every county and state charge, there's county ordinances, there's city ordinances. For the longest time, Escanaba had their city ordinances covered by a private firm, not the prosecutor's office. I'd say it's probably 5 or 6 years ago. We went and basically bid on that contract to say, we're performing this work already. So we provide the prosecution for their city ordinance violations as well as prosecuting their dangerous animal cases, which primarily is dogs running at large and dog bite cases.
Chickens don't qualify, do they?
They could, depending on what they do. That's why we call it a dangerous animal.
So, Mr. Chair, just for the city, what about Gladstone or townships and that? You would have to have a separate contract for all of them?
It would
So-
have to be a separate contract with each municipality related to their ordinances. So, for the example, City of Gladstone, if they write it as a state charge, then we prosecute it on their behalf. But if they wrote it under their city ordinance, then we would not be able to. So that's the differentiation.
Okay, but you would be willing to do it if they presented a?
Absolutely,
state- Okay,
absolutely.
all right, sounds
I
neat.
would make a motion that we support this, yes.
Okay, we have motion by Commissioner Peterson,
Second.
support by Commissioner Melnar, additional discussion.
One more question, please, Mr. Chair. Has this went up, or has this been staying the same for 5 years?
It has not stayed the same for 5 years. It's gone up periodically. Most significantly, we took on the dangerous animal cases because that's a surprisingly large caseload.
Okay, so, and it's enough revenue to pay for your services? We're not, they're not getting a super deal, but we're not
Exactly.
losing money
We
either.
tried to balance that out so everybody is happy and everybody wins from it.
Okay, great, thank you.
We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass, thank you, Lynn. All right, new business would be the payment of our bills.
I have examined all claims presented and recommend payment of the following, and that the county clerk be directed to issue orders on the county treasurer to the claimants for the amounts allowed. Grand total of bills, $1,840,859.92, $1,845.55 for commissioner expenses.
Is there a motion?
I move we pay our bills.
Is there a motion by Commissioner Barron,
Support?
supported by Commissioner Peterson, additional discussion? Roll call, clerk, please.
Melner.
Yes.
View.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And Moab.
Yes. All right, item 2 is the RFP Airport NFPA 407 refueler with overfill shutdown system. That's a mouthful.
Airport manager Bob Ranstadler is requesting for an RFP for a refueler overfill shutdown system that is necessary to become compliant with the FAA regulation NFPA 407-2017. This regulation became effective June 2nd of 2021, and we received a letter of noncompliance from the FAA on July 9th, 2021. The system takes approximately 9 to 12 weeks once the bid is awarded to source the backordered materials. The proposals are to be received no later than 3 p.m. on November 30th and opened at that time at the courthouse in the administrative conference room. The final decision of the award will be on December 5th at the commissioners' meeting. So we're just looking for approval of the RFP that is in the board packet.
I move that we allow the RFP to be submitted.
I'll support that.
Motion by Commissioner View, supported by Commissioner Melnar, additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, would pass, thank you. All right, retirement of Jay Hanson, request for lump sum payout, and also to fill the corrections position and to send that person a letter thanking them for their service.
Make a motion that we allow the payout and send the letter for
And
their services.
position.
Yes.
All right, very good, so we have a
Support.
motion by Commissioner Peterson, supported by Commissioner Barron, additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Then we have a request for the overlapping of the corrections officer's position, so get somebody new that they're gonna have kind of like an FTO, or in this case, a corrections training officer.
Correct. Sheriff Oswald is requesting for an overlap of 4 months for a retiree that will begin his PTO time on December 2nd until February 1st of 2024. This leaves the corrections facility with 1 officer down for scheduling and will have to be filled with overtime. This is the item that was approved at the Finance Committee level.
Or, I need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we allow the overlap.
Support.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Peterson, calling for the overlap. We have support by Commissioner Barron, additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That passes. Circuit Court request for temporary part-time position.
This was also brought forth to the Finance Committee and was approved. A request by Judge Econopoulos for a temporary part-time clerk while his jury officer is out on leave. This office actually only has 1 clerk, and this temporary addition will only cost the county an additional $600 plus fringes.
I'll move that we fill it at a temporary part-time position for the circuit court.
Moved by
Support.
Commissioner View, supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. None seen. So all those in favor of passing this signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Very good. Up update to travel reimbursement policy.
The sheriff presented to the finance committee a request to update the reimbursement policy for breakfast and lunch to be $15 and dinner to be $28. This policy has not been updated since 2015. He states this policy is usually updated by request of his departments, as it is his officers that utilize the meal reimbursement the most.
You know, anybody who thinks food hasn't gone up since 2015 is on it.
Currently, our policy is $8.50 for breakfast and lunch, and I believe it's $19 for dinner.
I would move that we update the travel reimbursement policy.
We have a motion by Commissioner Peterson.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Barron. I think this is excellent for our employees. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That'll pass. Resignation of H. Harris, Holly Harris, Planning Commission Board Recording Secretary. And then that would also give us the ability to send out an RFP for hiring another one, or accept applications. So, what's your pleasure, guys?
I'd move that we accept the resignation and move to put out an RFP or whatever it is to replace Ms. Harris.
Very good.
Support.
I have a motion by Commissioner Peterson. I have support by Commissioner Melner. No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, Commissioner out-of-county travel policy.
Commissioner V requested this to be added to the agenda item. He would like that the commissioners to amend the policy that would allow commissioners to attend conferences, trainings, et cetera, that are out of county without board approval, but with the chair approval. So there was instances where there was a training, I believe,
Zoning
a zoning training
out
at the casino.
At
and
Harris,
he-
yes.
Yep, and he was unable to attend because he didn't have out-of-county approval prior to.
And it was a good training.
And it was,
Admin approval as opposed to chair approval.
No, I want chair.
I want admin.
so I did a little research on this request, and we approve a general budget resolution beginning of 9:30. And it states that commissioners are not to exceed 12 days per year of out-of-county travel. So since that in-county travel would have been fine. You can take as numerous in-county travel, or in-UP, I'm sorry.
Yes.
In-UP travel as much. This is actually out of the Upper Peninsula travel, 12 days per year.
So what Steve needs, he would need approval then, right?
Well, I was told I
But
needed.
past precedence of the county is that every time we have out-of-county travel, it comes to the board.
All right, somebody make the motion if you want.
Okay. The motion for what? That we,
The one we moved that, now you got me confused. You got- That you would be able.
12 days of,
Right.
Out of UP.
So I will just stick to this policy and not do
Yeah,
past precedence
I'll
anymore
move that we follow the policy as written.
as the resolution
I'll
that
make
we
motion,
approved
yes.
because, yeah.
Moved
12
by
day.
Commissioner View.
No motion, it was just a discussion.
Did you remove your motion?
I don't
Well, could
think
you-
you did a
Well,
motion.
I made a motion
Oh,
so
I'm
that
sorry.
it's on the record.
He
So,
moved.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I
So
apologize,
you-
Commissioner.
Were you happy?
well, I'd like to get it on the record.
Okay,
Okay.
so motion by Commissioner View.
To follow that 12-day policy that she just
Follow
read.
the existing policy, yep.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion.
Yeah, I think it's really effective, because I remember Commissioner Peterson, when I talked to you about it, you were very excited about probably going to that zoning and planning thing because of what we're gonna have coming with our county thing, remember?
Yeah.
And neither one of us was able to go, and it was very detailed on giving us information that's gonna be coming to our board in the not-too-distant future.
So we have a motion, we have a second, additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously, sir, thank you. Okay, resolution of opposing legislation preempting local control for solar and wind development. And I'm also curious, does this also mean open pit mining?
Oh, I did see something on that.
I got the 10 pages here if you wanna read it.
I need more time.
According, this motion doesn't have about the mining, as really
didn't
as
think
far as
so.
gravel and what have you. That's not in this.
It's not in the, I'll make a motion that we accept it.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Melner, we have support by Mr. Pugh, additional discussion. I have some, but go ahead, Mr. Barron, I hear you started.
This is bothersome to me. I see this is
I know.
taking place across the MAC is pushing this across the country, across the state. And the fact that there's even local control is coming from the state. And local control has been taken before in the past. In 1981, the Michigan Right to Farm Law came into play. That was to counter local control and the abuse that was taking place. The number 2 industry in the state of Michigan, of course, tourism argues with this, is agriculture. But and at that time, there was changes that were taking place in agriculture, which has been going on for many, many years. And it was not something that some people locally cared for. I kind of describe it as the Norman Rockwell painting that they had in mind. And that's not the case anymore. That things have changed. It was at a time when economics of scale, and still is taking place today, had taken place. So you have different industries, especially in the livestock industry, went to much larger facilities. And so there was a lot of things taking place across the state locally where the locals were infringing upon that industry and endangering it. And using the wind and solar, very same thing is taking place today. The legislature has I'm trying to think, the House passed already taking away local control last week. The Senate looks like they're set to do it this week, whether it takes place or not, but with their timetable they have forth, the probability is very high that it will take place because of what they passed 2 weeks ago and where they set these dates of 2030, 2035, 2040 of the carbon neutrality, as it says in the resolution here. And there's no possible way they can make this at all, even have a chance with the situation that's taking place across the state where you have locals are blocking it in many different areas. We have it in Delta County here. We went through this just a few months ago here at this board level. I felt that this really would have been from the legislative standpoint, what they've done now is in taking away local control. I thought the easier thing would be to do, and would have made more sense, it's solar farms, wind farms, would have been to put it under the Michigan Right to Farm Law. And then under the generally accepted agricultural management practices known as GAMPS, then that regulatory process determines what's going to be for those particular type entities across the entire state. But that's not the route they took. The one they've taken here is a little more dramatic, and but I don't believe that we should be involved in a resolution of support for this, being that the local control did not learn from the Michigan Right to Farm Law that came into effect in 1981. Have forgotten what that was, or at least didn't learn their history. So there's a lot of things, if you don't learn your history, you have a good chance of redoing it again. And it's a potential industry that the state is pushing, whether we like it or not. It doesn't matter about that. But the issue is that the state is calling for it. It's set these mandatory guidelines as far as the carbon neutrality, renewable energy sources, and your big utilities such as DTE and Consumers Power have already set up their plans in motion to meet these. They're controlled under the Michigan Public Service Commission, and they have to get those. They don't plan these things in 5 years. It's 10, 20 years out, and they have to do that. And in order for them to continue to reach these goals, they have to have these, be able to remove some of these impediments locally here. The opportunity was there for the locals to work with the situation. As we saw in this county, in the township I live in, the locals chose specifically to kill the industry, to not allow it in it. They used techniques such as overlay districts, which are a minimum, the overlay district is approximately 500 acres. The most that could be put for any solar installation there was 100 acres. You read it. It was set up to make it impossible to work with. How restrictive that is to understand this. And I'll use the example of a home. It would be required that you would have to build, if you wanted a 2,000 square foot home that you wanted to live in, you would have to build a 10,000 square foot home to be able to use 2,000 square feet. That's how restrictive this is. That's how ridiculous it is. And this hit the legislature. The locals abused the property rights of their constituents more than the state and federal government ever dreamed of doing. And so I believe this resolution just adds insult to injury because you're condoning that type of action here locally. Yes, I understand. I'm not against local control, but if the locals do not do the job that their oath of office requires them to do, and that's uphold the laws of nature and of nature's God, inalienable rights. When we cease doing that, then the redress has to come from someplace else, and it would have to come, in this case, it's coming from the state. So I would strongly recommend that we not pass this and let the situation take place that is taking place. The locals made their bed, let them lay in it. And this is a property rights issue. It has been from the get-go. And there is no guarantee that any of these places that they're proposing for these developments are going to happen. What took place, as took place in Escanaba Township, is they denied the right of the opportunity. So they took away that from their property owners, and that is not anything that any elected official who knows what their oath of office is should ever uphold. And in our passing this resolution, we're not upholding our oath of office.
Gentlemen, anybody else?
Yes. The House bills the numbers are 5120 through 5123. If this goes through, your Public Service Commission is looking at 265,000 acres of solar panels. Now, looking at that, and if it's all farmland, all that farmland will come to a halt. Where do we get our food? Where do we get our food? Senator McBroom was on Facebook, and he was just so fired up about these bills getting passed. It was outrageous. So I think we need to pass this resolution and let the state know that we don't want to give our local power to Lansing.
I can address that. That 265,000 acres, yes, that's a large amount of acreage, no doubt about it. But Michigan has a rather robust ethanol industry, which comes from corn. And also has a soy, an industry that they use soybeans to produce biodiesel and other lubricant products. It's in the Thumb area. That's been going on for years. And the amount, agriculture is another entity that captures solar energy. The 265,000 acres that you're talking about is an example here. We had this before us, and you were here, Commissioner Molnar, last year when we were working on the solar ordinance for Delta County. It was brought in by Bob Van Dam. I don't have the figures right in front of me, but the 1 acre of corn, average yield, which is right around 180 bushel, but produces enough ethanol for approximately 11,000 to run a car about approximately 11,000 miles. Pretty significant. Except 1 acre of solar is several hundred thousand. We are talking a dramatic increase in efficiency of captured energy in comparison. And that corn acre is being used to produce that corn There is the byproducts that are used, but the main use of it is for solar. But the solar is so much more efficient in producing energy. I'm talking about several 100,000 miles from an acre of solar for obviously an EV vehicle, electric vehicle. But so you're 265,000, and I know Senator McBroom very well about this, and we're brethren in agriculture. But the reality is, a huge amount of the acreage in Michigan is already used for producing energy. And in reality, that's what the bulk of agriculture is the capturing of solar energy and converting it into a means of exchange, whether it's food, fiber, and energy has basically been the aspect of agriculture. The Upper Peninsula, the number one segment of agriculture in the Upper Peninsula is forestry. A great deal of forestry is, a lot of people use wood for combustion in heating their homes. It's used, we have the parks, it's definitely quite a little bit of wood that's used there, but that is a capture of energy. A block of wood is solar energy in solid form. So we're dealing with energy here in all aspects. So to condemn, to say we don't want this particular capture of solar energy where we want this one, just doesn't make any sense. It's not lost to agriculture. The decommissioning, these properties that would go into solar would, upon decommissioning, are brought back to the productive level they were when they went into it. So it's just a much more efficient capture of solar energy in comparison to the other methods that we're using in agriculture.
Mr. Chair, my comment is basically the loss of local control. And I know this issue is on solar and wind, but what's next? I'm not talking about mining, I'm talking about the people's choice on how to run the business of their community. And as far as solar goes, I don't know why we don't have solar in the county more prevalent because of what the state has required. But what they're doing is having a commission of 3 people telling your whole township what they can do. What are they gonna do next? Tell us what cars to buy, what trees we can cut. I think we take a stance here. Whether it does any good or not, I don't know, but at least shows that we still want to have some type of control in our community. That's all. And Bob, I've always liked solar. For whatever reason, we don't have it. We just have to deal with it the best way we can.
Well, I just got one more thing too. The U.S. government is gonna subsidize the solar panels. They're paying out $3,000 an acre. $3,000 an acre. So if a person has 100 acres, figure it out, per year. That's per month, 3,000 per month.
Where do you get
So
your
now-
figures?
You done, Mr. Miller? Commissioner Miller, are you done, or do you have more to say?
Yeah, that,
Commissioner Peterson?
I'll be honest with you, I was hoping this wouldn't come up. I am so torn on this. Quite often, our state and federal governments put out mandates. We are going to have solar by this time, or we are going to have something by this time, with no idea how to implement it. I, all my life, have said, and I live by it, that the smallest form of government should have the biggest impact on your life, because it's the easiest place for us to get to. If Washington handles everything, you people that come to the county board meetings to talk to us would have to go to Washington or to Lansing. And so but on the other hand, I'm a supporter of individual property rights. I think when we dealt with the annexation issue. If I remember correctly, I even said that I wish that Escanaba Township would have worked with the people that want solar more, because I kind of figured something like this was gonna come up. The state is going to do this, no matter what we sign on this. I've talked to enough representatives and enough legislators,
It's gonna pass.
it's gonna pass. The governor has already said that when it hits her desk, she will sign it.
It's symbolic, you know that.
This is symbolic. I do believe that the individuals that want to put solar on their property, that should be their right. But to have the state come in, they're already talking about a septic bill that they're gonna pass statewide, that's gonna cost each individual lots of money. They're looking at aggregate, they're looking at solar. It's a slope, as far as I'm concerned. It's just a means to an end. They're starting here. By the time they get done, we will have no control over what happens in our counties or our townships. Like I said, I was hoping that this wouldn't come out, because I just didn't want to vote on it. But it's here now, so I'm gonna have to deal with it.
Question for you. As a commission as a whole, that was the annexation issue that really caused me to get at a level where I was talking to people daily. Are we pressed by time for this? Because
Yes.
I'm gonna
Yes.
pull a Mr. View and say, I need more time to study this, and I do.
I send you all the stuff.
No, I understand that, but I'd like to talk to some people on the street too.
Well, you have probably till tomorrow.
Yeah, by the time this hits the books, it'll be done.
We ship
I'm
it
pretty
out
sure.
tomorrow in an email, and I was told through Mac that maybe if one person, it's close to passing or not passing.
If Governor Whitmer says she's gonna do something, she's gonna do it. If she
The
doesn't,
the
Well-
big problem with this is, that I see, if I may cut in, are you done? I'm
Please.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut in on you, Commissioner. Okay.
Yes.
The big problem with this and everything else is, and there's been many cases of this, different types of cases of this, where, well, let's take, back in, when, President Biden took office. First day in office, he killed oil and gas development with nothing to replace it. And that's what this is. Everybody wants solar. Everybody wants electric cars. Everybody wants electric this, electric that. Not in my backyard. And that's the biggest part of it. That's the hard part about this. I understand people not wanting solar in the backyard, but I also understand that something has to be done about it. If they're gonna go completely green energy by 2035, then they've gotta do something about it. We can't just sit back and say, like I said, not in my backyard, because it's gonna have to be in people's backyards. And there was a chance to work through this and hopefully, and possibly come to a solution on it that would have benefited everybody. But now it's not there. Now, we're not gonna have that choice anymore. It's just gonna get done. And you won't have any say about how it's done now. And I feel really bad about that.
Mr. View.
There are amendments that may be added to this. Nobody's gonna know until it's voted on, but one of the amendments is the county will set an ordinance county-wide for solar and windmills, which will be a first go-to for the property owner. Then, if something gets turned down, they can appeal to the Michigan Public Service Commission.
You're saying there may be amendments?
There are amendments on the table, but I don't know if they're gonna go through.
It's-
Bob, do you know something about them?
The House has already passed that, where there's an amendment to that, but if the entities, the developer entities are not able to work something out, the local, I think, has 120 days to work in a period of time when it starts. And if that doesn't take place, then it will go to the Public Service Commission. Now, that that plays to what I call free counties, non-zone counties, which there are a number of them in
No,
the
I know,
state.
that
And there's
was
developments
compromise.
taking place in those counties. Now, they don't, because they do not have zoning ordinances, like Misaki County is one. There's 16 townships, there is no zoning in that county. And developments are, or at least one development was, that I saw when I was down here just this past weekend, the weekend before. And it's what I call a free county, because they don't, the people get the, pretty much max out their property rights in the state of Michigan in comparison to others. Well, if you're an entity that wants to develop solar, you will look at the jurisdiction and say, well, we'll work with this jurisdiction. Misaki County is not real hard to work with because it doesn't have something and it doesn't care to. Well, or do we work with the Public Service Commission? Public Service Commission, well, Misaki County may be much easier to get along with because they don't have things there and they don't have a concern of, they actually uphold people's property rights there. And so if you're a developer, you would look at a choice of going to that entity versus the Public Service Commission. And that's basically what I read in that amendment.
Okay.
Yippee, there's a chance that this might come back on the county again.
Well,
A slight chance,
that
yes.
amendment, that if it passed in the House, now the Senate will be voting on that. I suspect that the vote will take place Thursday sometime, just as the one last week took place in the House on Thursday. And what they haven't laid out pretty much indicates they have to pass here. So otherwise, this is, as of the election today, they may well have 2 less House members on the Democratic side after today, because they're running for mayoralships in their respective districts. They leave, then it's a tie situation, and the Democrats are still in control, but they're not going to be able to pass things. So until there's a special elections, when these 2 districts are in the, I believe it's in the Wayne County area, which they have the special elections will be probably be refilled with Democrats. But I want to address a couple things, if I may, here. Commissioner Mulliner, you threw some numbers out here, and I certainly would like to see where you've gotten those, and so we can see a backup on those, because I have not seen something on that. I've been told by having worked with some solar developers, that in all reality, they do not need any subsidy. If it's out there, it's because the government's deciding to do it, but they do not need subsidy. Steve, Commissioner View, you said that what next? I've heard that a couple times here. Well, the locals already are doing that. What next? And you were witness of that just recently at you represent part of Escanaba Township and I do. You we were both at that same session at the Planning Commission. A zoning request.
I was going to give you the numbers.
Oh, okay. Well, I would like the source, please. But what next? They've already gone to what next locally here. There's no redress for property owners. And so your very thing that you're talking about, you have witnessed locally here, is basically they're determining what they believe is the winners and losers, and they're trying to, and what their actions are, is they're trying to determine what in this case, certain property owners can use their property for, and unfortunately, it comes across as they have no idea what's the best use of that property or what's going to be viable so that they can hold on to it. They're more driving those owners to have to get rid of that property, because one of their, in Escanaba Township, what they would like to see is the farmland broken up for farmettes and housing. That's the underlying piece. It's not about saving agricultural land. Despite this 265,000 acres, that is not what that is absolutely not what the case is here. Another aspect here is on the annexation issue that came before us. It was using statute that gave us local control, and the decision was not to accept that local control.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask Commissioner Barron this question. Is 2 wrongs make a right? The local people took control of the property owners. Now you want the state to take away their control that took the control away from control over anything if it's out of our community.
All right, then, this is not two wrongs making a right. It's two entities, the
Well,
locals
same.
taking away people's property rights, the state taking away people's property rights. And in this situation, the state is saying, we're actually going to give back part of your property rights. We're reducing our control. And the locals are saying, we want to increase our control. And my oath of office clearly says I'm to uphold the God-given rights, the inalienable rights of which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is property.
I'd like to call the question.
Support?
Can you get quiet in here, please?
Well, no, we need to vote
No,
on
no,
it. I mean,
fine.
we
I
all-
understand that, sir, but I'll do it under.
No, I was talking about,
You have a second to,
yeah, Bob.
I second it.
oh, he seconded, all right. Well, question then. All right, so the question has been called, it has been seconded. This is on the motion of calling the question. All in favor to moving on to a vote, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, very good. Opposed? Then we move on to the vote. Yes, please.
So this is on the resolution, adopting the resolution opposing the legislation preempting, okay. Melner,
Yes.
View,
Yes.
Barron,
No.
Peterson,
Yes.
and Moyle.
No. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. We'll move on to the next. We have general public comment. I wish to advise you on a couple of things. You get 3 minutes to address the board, please. Please refrain from clapping in regards to political speech. If somebody's retiring, somebody receives an award, of course, that's acceptable. Refrain from obscenities, and address the board basically on the businesses at hand of the board. Please just come up and state your name, and we welcome you.
Hi, good evening. Kelly Van Genhoven, City of Escanaba. I would like to request a change in the manner in which agenda packets are distributed to the citizens of Delta County. In my many conversations with citizens and having listened to comments here at meetings, it's been brought to your attention several times, and to my attention as well, that the disbursement of the agenda packet is not the best of what it could be. Currently, the agenda packet is dispersed via email to your constituency 1 to 3 hours before a meeting. Today, I received it at 3 p.m., and the first part was 125 pages. The second was 131 pages. Constituents are not given ample time to thoroughly review the packet for questions or comments on agenda items. How are your constituents supposed to properly contact you with their opinions or concerns if they don't receive the information until an hour or two before a meeting? I would like to see the packet posted on the county's website, if possible, at the same time the agenda is posted. This would clear up Tracy having to email, citizens having to sign up for those emails, and also putting it on the website would make it public for all. The City of Escanaba does this currently, and it works very smoothly. And if possible, I would like to see this changed quickly. Thank you.
Please refrain from that. I'm gonna warn you once. It's not political. I'm gonna warn you twice. Stop interfering with the work of the people, please. I apologize.
Christine Williams, Ford River Township. I want to first thank you for passing the resolution opposing the legislation that's preempting local control for solar and wind. Thank you. I also would like to state to Bob Barron that I think it is unreasonable for you to suggest that a utility-scale solar or wind installation is agriculture and farming. It is not. It is a utility, period, and we need to be honest about that. I also want to say that the Michigan Public Service Commission does not have our best interests in mind, certainly not at our local level. Their mission is to ensure safe, reliable, accessible energy at reasonable rates. I can tell you that the most expensive bill I pay is electricity, and I think just about every other person in the UP would agree with me. We struggle to be able to pay our electric bills. There are people who can't actually afford electricity at the rate that we are expected to pay. So they're certainly not meeting their mission as it stands today. And now we want to put that control in their hands. We want to give them even more control. Makes no sense to me whatsoever. I think most important would be putting the control of the ability to generate electricity for the consumer in the consumer's hands. So work with these large monopolies, which Bob Barron is very much willing to sell himself out to, these large monopolies that are costing us a fortune and keeping us as citizens from being able to put solar energy on our own property, on our own homes, because we can't do it, because they're a monopoly and they control it. They control the grid. Take the grid back and give the control to the consumer and let us generate our own power and stop feeding these monsters. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, please quit. That's the final time I'm going to warn you. The next time you're going to be asked to leave. I'd rather not have this disagreement. Please.
Hello, my name is Brian Godfrey Gladstone. 6 months ago when thank you for passing that. 6 months ago when you brought this up, I could have cared less because I didn't live in Cornell. But over the last 6 months, I've been at so many meetings around the UP and have been with so many politicians who push this, that if one more piece of solar goes in my head, it's gonna explode. I don't care what people do on their yard. I don't care if you paint your house orange, bright orange, whatever color you do, you blast music all day, it doesn't affect me. If you start doing things that do affect me, like dig a hole to the point where it drains my field, then it indirectly affects me. So therefore, what I'm saying is there's been noted things in history where somebody had dug a mine or put up an oil rig somewhere and it drained a local lake. That would indirectly affect that property owner. So therefore, what some of the things that people aren't looking at, I'm not going green at all. I'm not an advocate for green. I'm more like Tim, the two-man Taylor, give me gas, more power. So therefore, what I'm saying is some of the stuff that I've seen and looked into with solar is focused light, kills birds and insects. That affects my upper Michigan because the birds eat insects. They get killed by the fish, the wildlife, the things that we preserve in our county. I really care about. So that indirectly affects me if that is a way of thinking. I don't know how far down these things dig in, but what if they dig into the water reserve for all your neighbors? Then it indirectly affects them. These are the things that I'm seeing throughout the UP. One of the things that I have seen that the people who are pushing this the most, no other word to say it, that they're greedy because they're the only ones that will benefit in the end from having the solar farms. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Godfrey. Okay, sir, leave the room, please. I'm asking you to leave the room. You're clearly defying our policy.
I support Mr. Godfrey.
Well, you can do it without clapping. I've asked you once, asked you twice, 3 times. You're violating the work of the people. The board will either hold me up on this or boo me down.
Let's do it.
All right, straight up and down. You want him to leave the room or stay? I'm asking him to leave the room because he's intentionally disrupting the work of the people. Roll call.
Milner.
No.
View.
No.
Barron.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And Moyle.
Yes, please leave the room, sir.
It's against policy. It's my right to free speech. It's my
I'm
right
going to
speak.
recess the meeting for 5 minutes. I'll call police.
Do it.
She's out of order. Point of order.
We're on recess.
Recess.
We're on recess.
Many people clap for a very
We are recessed. We are recessed for 5 minutes. Please have.
said over and over, thank you, thank you, thank you, and not, and nobody was
Yeah, I'm sitting in the meeting room, and I've ejected someone from the room with the blessing of the board. He's refusing to leave. I need a deputy here to escort him out of this room based on our policies. I'm at the meeting room at the service center, the board meetings. David Moyle, board chair. I don't know what's the person's name. I don't know him, but he's refusing. He's still there. I think it's Anthony. Is it Anthony Seymour? Tony Seymour. Thank you. We're at recess. I can't really give you an answer, but I hear you. The policy has been in effect in good faith. I have it, but thank you. I have one on my computer. So, I asked him 3 times. Told him to put everything will. Intentionally. Well, I need somebody gets on board if somebody's retiring. But, I mean, he's intentionally doing this, so whatever.
Yeah. That is the call. Back you up on that?
Well, it's unfortunate. The only good news is people get to go to the bathroom. Is somebody doing like a wave back there? Reed? She can wave. That doesn't make any sense because I can't see, so why would you do
Sometimes, I don't even want to put it. That's a great memory. Most tense situations. I mean, I'm Christmas session last night, somebody was police just. Well, it's a year.
Can't wait too long, I got an election to get to.
Yes. I have a lot of to pick from tonight. Fresh ones. Well, they're always fresh.
It's going.
That's it. Right now, I'm debating between this.
No. Oh, yeah? Oh. I'll have to hit her up on that.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
Because I feel like that's what I just went through in this debate.
yeah, yeah.
Wait a minute, it's right there
Yep.
in front of you. Like the drum cap and singing in the front, sit in the middle, beard in the front. I need to get going, Nancy's got the last.
We will bring the board back to session, please. This meeting is now attempting to come to order as soon as we can get a few commissioners in.
Call Commissioner Peterson.
Commissioner Peterson and Commissioner View will be coming in shortly. The meeting of the county board is now back in order. Could you please be quiet in the audience as we get back to order? Thank you, gentlemen. All right, very good. We are continuing with general public comment. General public comment. You have 3 minutes to address the board.
Fix Escanaba. You just removed a veteran who fought for our country. Take that.
Keep it quiet, please. I would ask you. You're out of line, sir. You're out of order, sir. Sir, please, you're out of order. Stay in order, I ask you. I'm asking you respectively to quit being out of order from the audience. General public comment?
Okay, I'm going to take my turn. Thank you. Judy
Mrs. Adamini.
Adamini. And I'm sure most of you know who I am because I've been up here speaking before. And I'm only asking for my 3 minutes, not 6. I want to clarify that. Thank you. I only need 2. And sitting here through various meetings that I have and listening to Mr. Barron do quotes, I have 2 for you, for everybody, please. Quote, when you see something that is not right, not fair, and not just, you have to speak up. You have to say something, and you have to do something. Close quote. Second quote, my greatest fear is that one day we may wake up and our democracy is gone. Close quote. One of my all-time favorite human beings, Congressman John Lewis. And I think those are words that should be taken to heart by some people here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Again, I will ask you, please quit clapping. General public comment, please. General public comment to address this board.
Hello, Craig Taylor, Escanaba, Wells Township. Someone from a local popular social media group recently implied that I somehow was responsible for bringing Chili DeCastro to Delta County. This is an outright lie. I have never spoken to DeCastro. I do not agree with him, nor did I assist him in any way. This same group has brought the division and the politics of personal destruction, division amongst our people here, disrupting our board meetings, spreading rumors, gossip, hatred, and blaming others for it. Now they are seeking to recall our board members. The task of politics is not to represent just one factor, but rather to overcome divisions and unite. It's in your hands. Therein lies the future of our small part of God's earth.
Yes, sir. General public comment. You have 3 minutes to address this board. Kindly speak your name and let us know what you have to say.
Diane Weber. I would just like to say that I cannot believe that we as adults will sit and not let someone else speak, that we have to do a disturbance, whether it be clapping, whether it be foul language, whether it would be signals with the hand. I taught in school in many of the different grades, and I don't think any of our children behaved like that. And that disappoints me. And whoever this man is that came in, I didn't agree with everything he said. But I do know also that I have had many family members. I have a son, I have a grandson, I have a granddaughter, I have nephews that were police officers. I have many, many good friends that were police officers, that were good police officers. Many of them had awards for being a good police officer. But I also knew many police officers that felt like the law was for you, not for them. And so I know for facts on some of the things that he was saying. And that goes for anywhere in life. I don't care what role you play in life. There is those type of people in every role. I think that as adults, if we believe that we should vote for someone who is lying, who is creating a disturbance or yelling out in the middle of an audience and cannot be an adult, then I think we better take a good look at what they're representing. I am just shocked by the adult behavior. Yeah. By adult behavior and lying, including some who are on the board and have decided that they would run under a certain policy because we'll get voted in, and then turn tail and turn on you in the end and go just the opposite. Like I said, it falls in every area, but I am just bewildered at the adult behavior. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. General public comment, please. You have 3 minutes. That was not correct. You have 3 minutes. Hang me by a yard iron, all right? Sorry, it's 3 minutes, ma'am.
I did hear 10 minutes.
I
ran
heard.
up. Bonnie Huckala. First of all, thank you for passing the resolution. I am very much for local control and not big government control. If we don't go back to local control, we're in big trouble, big slide to socialism, large government versus local control. We want local control, please. That's where we have a little say. If we give away our power to the higher-ups, they're going to take it all. Second of all, for our grid, we do need fossil fuels. And the happy thing is, we're sitting on more oil than Saudi Arabia, so I hear. So we could very efficiently power our grid, and wouldn't that be a nice thing? Lower electrical bills. Solar isn't quite as efficient as what we need. And I don't think solar farms are really where we want to go, industrial. Smaller solar panels, fine. All right. Those were my main things, but I like to say that we live in a constitutional republic. Democracy is eating away at that. Democracy is like mob rule. Constitutional republic says we have our rights and they are preserved. So that's an important point. So I'd like people to know what government we are living under. And if you'd like a little bit reinforcement on that, come to our constitutional classes on Monday nights. Thank you.
Thank you, Bonnie. General public comment, you will get 3 minutes, please, to address the board. Thank you.
Sandy Sylvie, Ford River. I just wanted to clear a couple things up about the recall. The first thing is, the people that are being recalled were elected, but that doesn't mean that that they have free rein to do whatever they want and not have any people go against them. And there's a couple things that I've heard, and I know for sure that they're not true. Mr. Peterson, nobody passed out papers with your eyes X'd out. Nobody passed out a list of the bad things that you have done. And another thing that I want to talk about is just because you can do something doesn't mean that you should. Like turn in pages and pages and pages of signatures to be challenged for technicalities. Those people on those recall slips signed those slips because they wanted a recall. And I think it's terrible to try to take their signature off because somebody forgot a date, somebody forgot to put a 0. I just want you to know that I think it is ridiculous and it's trying to take away the voice of the people.
Thank you. Okay, next up, general public comment, please. Mr. Gustafson?
Hello, my name is Gary Gustafson. I live out in Rapid River. So you just kicked somebody out of the meeting, but you didn't follow your own procedure, and you kicked out a veteran, by the way, and he was just exercising his right as an American citizen. So, first of all, I didn't hear anybody make any motion or vote to adjourn the meeting. I didn't hear anybody make an motion or have any vote or discussion about kicking him out, no official vote at all. Was there? Did I miss something? Oh, did you? You actually did have one? Oh, okay, well, I take that back. Did you have one to adjourn the meeting then?
Recess.
Recess the meeting? I'm sorry, recess? You don't have to.
think
Okay,
the chair-
well, we're
We
good there.
don't need to.
Then I just wasted my breath.
You're
I
all
still
right.
think it was wrong,
Just keep going.
and I don't think it's legal, and I think you will be hearing more from him and probably other people on that matter in the near future. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, general, please refrain from clapping. I'm going to ask you again. General public comment. General public comment? Sir?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Ben Weber. I just want to reiterate what you just said, that there are rules, we have to follow them. If you break the rules, there's a consequence for breaking the rules. If they lay the law down and say you can't do this, you can't do that in the meeting, you can't do it. So just abide by what their request is. Enough of that. On line item number 9, on the resolution, I'm glad you opposed that legislation. It was stated that there are 265,000 acres that were going to be affected by this solar experiment, I guess. That equates to 414 square miles of farmland washed away. I recently had an opportunity to go to Lansing, and it doesn't take very long after you cross the bridge, it's windmill hell. As far as the eye can see, it's windmills, and all that beautiful farmland has been sucked up by the windmills. And the power ends up going down to Illinois. How do you like that? What is the next thing that the state or the federal government's going to do? I feel that this move by our Michigan legislature is part of a big experiment to further their progression into a very dangerous thing called eminent domain. And when eminent domain takes place, you have absolutely zero property rights. The state and the federal government can take what they want, how much they want, and when they want. So I am supporting these commissioners to stop this because I'm trying to protect your future, your property rights. President Reagan said this, and I'm going to end it on this note. He said, "Government is not the answer to the problem, but is the problem." Thank you.
Thank you, sir. General public comment. General public comment.
You want to go?
Thank
Yep.
you. You're always kind. And appreciate it. Dave Adamy, Wells Township. Talk about rules and decorum. We saw what just happened. Unfortunate the veteran had to go. Would have saved us time and effort if we would have just continued on. A few murmurs here and there aren't going to disrupt much. Decorum, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how it was followed at the last meeting. Gentleman, the outsider came in, rambled for 6 minutes straight. When the crowd tried to intervene at 3 minutes, they were shut down. Told to behave and follow decorum. What the gentleman from California spouted about had nothing to do with this board or anything or any control that the board had. So he had no standing to speak. We talked about the attorney that was hired. Commissioner Moyle stated there's no conflict of interest. He just happened to work with your ex-wife, if that's what you said. You liked his work, and you thought we should hire him because he gave us a good deal. Is there anyone else that Mr. Hyken represents in this community that would cause a conflict of interest with this board? Because it's my understanding he represents an individual who's a good friend of the commissioners who is accused of stalking and harassing an individual in this community. And I don't know what planet that would be acceptable for the board to hire someone who is currently representing or has represented someone who is accused of stalking and harassing a political opponent of someone on the board. Mr. Barron, you talked to other meetings about a multi-generational conspiracy against your family by local government. I, however, have a different impression of that. It seems to me that every time you don't get your way or don't get an exception to a variance, then all of a sudden you're the bad guy. It's not fair. That's, when you don't get that exception, now you think that somebody's going against you. And that just, to me, does not sound right. And I hope members in the community, when they think about this recall, it's not about whether you're a Democrat, an independent, or Republican, what your political background is. It's about these 5 individuals that sit up here and our ability to trust and have faith. And when you guys talk to us, Commissioner Peterson, I've talked to you about this. I will like you. I want to trust you. I want to know what you're saying. I want to have faith in what you say at face value. And I think, we're not that far off here, but some of these events, this is why this recall is going on. It's not political. It's about the actions of the board and the perceivement. And I'm not saying there's anything going on, but when it sure looks like it, as we used to say in police work, the evidence test, does it pass the public scrutiny? Would you do that in public? And I just don't like what I'm seeing. Some of the dots I've connected, they're not that hard to connect. And as always, if anybody's being harassed or stalked, find me after the meeting. And be safe, everybody. Remember, we're all still members of this community. After this meeting, we're still going to be members of this community. Be kind to each other.
Please refrain from clapping. Additional general public comment, go ahead, Ash.
Or if someone else is coming up.
Is there somebody else wants the?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, ma'am.
Deborah Dietz from Escanaba. My husband and I moved to Escanaba after visiting the city 3 years in a row. And we special made our decisions by looking at the climate. I love snow. And by talking to people, very sweet, friendly, and welcoming us. Now, after 5 years, I'm coming to these meetings and seeing some different reasons that people come to these meetings, different than my reasons. Our goal should be improving our community life and making a better city and working together and being happy together, not by attacking each other or saying words that I don't like. Last meeting, I was very shocked to see a mature-looking woman to do something with her finger. I was taping it, and I just saw it. It's in my camera. And how come a citizen does this to another citizen in the same community, and we are not enemies, right? So I have two things that during the meeting I heard maybe more than once. One is having 13 counties, comparing what we're having at different conversations. We have 83 counties in Michigan. 13 is not the majority to get as example. The other word is outsiders. We can accept outsiders. You accepted me here, right? Like doctors can work anywhere. Attorneys can work anywhere. Teachers, judges, waitresses, painters. We don't just call people outsider and send away. We need to work all together. And I think to Delta County Commissioner Board members to working together. And I wish best for all of us because we have more serious problems coming up. And we need to be together. Thank you.
Thank you. General public comment. Is there anybody else who wishes to go before the board? If not, Ashley will finish it up.
All right. Log in here. Lucky everyone, I have 4 public comments.
Okay.
Oh yeah, this one's already on. I shut mine off so nobody hear me rustling. Okay, this one is from Nate Cheeseborough. City of Escanaba. Let me start my timer. Mr. Morrill, for 4 months, you and fellow commissioners Peterson and Barron have used your position on the county board to put your own assets above those of the county and antagonize those who you view as your enemies. You've encouraged your supporters to take this podium and to take social media to hurl vile insults at Commissioners Melner and View, as well as those who dare to call out and condemn this sort of behavior from an elected
I'm
official.
going to stop him right there. I've never encouraged, he's out of order. That is a lie. Keep reading, but I've never.
You use this position to support your acquaintances and empower your friends. The work of the people comes in a distant last place. You fail to live in reality. You claim to have the support of the people. The fact is, more people voted against you in the election than those who voted for you. Now, following a prolonged period of blatant, unethical, and childish behavior, you are up for recall. The only one surprised by this is you. Former Administrator DeSalvo questioned your ethics publicly right here at this podium after the working conditions deteriorated so badly that she felt she had no other choice. It was clear to everyone who listened to her appeal and watched how you reacted that you did everything you could to run her off through creating a toxic working relationship. You lied to us and you said you had nothing to do with it. Weeks later, our airport manager resigned from her post, citing harassment and intimidation from members of this board, including you, Mr. Moyle. You were ordered by airport staff and board members for visiting the airport at a time when the manager was known to be off location, essentially looking for dirt. You denied having any ill intent surrounding this incident as well, despite your campaign manager gleefully posting on Facebook, "Another lib bites the dust. Now Admiral needs to go," immediately following the manager's departure. The same pattern of bullying, harassment, and intimidation that was suggested by Administrator DeSalvo was playing out once again at the airport. Shortly thereafter, the recall effort was put in motion to remove you from the office. The recall petition read on February 7th, Commissioner David J. Moyle voted to terminate Administrator Emily DeSalvo's contract. You found it appropriate to appeal that language and attempt to convince a judge that those words were either unclear or untrue. The judge scolded you for this, correctly characterizing your efforts as a frivolous in nature and a waste of taxpayer time and money. Yet you followed up by questioning the judge's assessment and tried to fool your constituents into believing that you paid for all costs associated with that appeal. We, your constituents, did not buy your story. Since that time, the petitions have gone out and have been turned in In each case, there were far more signatures collected over and above the prescribed minimum to trigger a recall election. Despite your challenge to throw out signatures, you and Annie were unable to show that there were
That's
any
it.
fraudulent,
Stop,
misleading.
Stop. My ex-wife is not a public figure. I'm cutting him off right there.
It goes on to,
My ex-wife is not a public figure.
there's no more mention of
All
your
right, very,
ex-wife.
all right.
It doesn't matter.
Moreover, recently,
All right, thank you. No, my ex-wife is not a public figure. No one in my family is.
Okay.
Thank you. Next up. Quiet in the audience, please.
this one, Andrea Newmelin, Rock. Dear Commissioner Moyle, in response to your quote, "If they want me gone, I'll be gone like a fart in the wind." Hello, fart, meet the wind. Sincerely, all the women you couldn't control.
All right, thank you. Next up.
Teresa Ross, Ford River Township. Mr. Moyle seems to forget that the commission meetings are recorded. These are actual quotes. On March 27, 2023, Scott Graham is not my friend. I've gotten the gentleman represent me once before. He's not my buddy. View asks again where this guy came from later in the discussion. Commissioner View, yeah, this guy represented me once, and I thought he was a hawk. Commissioner Moyle. On October 17, 2023, Mr. Graham has never been my personal attorney. This is not true. Commissioner Moyle. According to court documents, Attorney Graham or his associates have represented Mr. Moyle, Anastasia Vanakafor, Mr. Moyle's ex-wife, and Reed Hyken, Mr. Moyle's friend and co-host of a podcast. Mr. Moyle has lied to us. The question is why? And why is Mr. Moyle publicly undermining our capable and effective prosecuting attorney? All right, Whitney Maloney.
Ashley.
Oh, sorry, I didn't restart it, thank you. Whitney Maloney, Gladstone, Michigan. Commissioner Moyle was quoted in an article published by CBS 19 News on November 7th. We would be the only county in the state of Michigan to have its prosecuting attorney elected by the people to prosecute, act as our municipal council, Moyle said. If you can find me an example of another counties that have resources that uses this elected prosecuting attorney as its municipal council, I will admit mistake. I contacted 36 Michigan counties. Of those counties, 13 of them utilize their prosecuting attorney as counsel. Those counties are as follows: Elkhorn, Berry, Branch, Chippewa, Clinton, Crawford, Dickinson, Eaton, Genesee, Grand Traverse, Gracia, Iron, and Montcalm. Most of these counties express this information on their website. For those that do not, I contacted the prosecutor's office, clerks of courts, and/or commissioners directly for this information. For example, the website for the prosecuting attorney for Montcalm County lists under its duties, represents, and advises the County Board of Commissioners and other county departments on legal matters. Commissioner Moyle, you are extremely incorrect in your declaration quoted above as offered. I demand that you admit your mistake. I welcome you to fact-check my claims as I did yours, so that you can become informed yourself of how incorrect you were in your assumptions. Furthermore, I demand that you cease your efforts to make Scott Graham the primary legal counsel, as this is not the best interest of this county. Finally, I'm submitting this letter to read because I have 3 children and I'm not able to attend in person. I previously utilized Zoom to participate, but because this is no longer an option, I'm no longer to attend the meetings virtually. As a board, you need to allow virtual participation. It is a gross disservice to this county that we do not have that option. Whitney Maloney. All right, final one. Dana Veneffen, Escanaba. Hopefully, Mr. Moyle will let Ashley finish my statement, as the last time I tried this, she shut her down, denying my voice to be heard. This has been brought up before, but a public social media post written by Anastasia stated, when Scott Graham...
Stop, please. My ex-wife is not a public figure.
Okay, I will skip that statement. Mr. Moyle's response to that was, this was just the beginning, sweetheart. For so long, people have been smack. Now they know the legal team is real. They also need to know that the ball is starting to roll and it's going to raise holy hell in the legal terms. On October 29th, 2022, a resident of Delta County received a letter from attorney Suzanne Klein from Bangor, Michigan, stating, "Our firm represents Mr. David J. Moyle in potential legal action against you for malicious defamatory statements you have made verbally in public and published broadly through the internet. Your statements have harmed Mr. Moyle, his ex-wife, and his minor child. None of Mr. Moyle's claims are correct. He just didn't want his rape porn career getting out to the public."
Stop, it's done. Please.
If you do a simple Google search with Suzanne Klein and Scott Graham, you can see that they work together. In fact, when you click Susan Klein's name, it brings you to Scott Graham's PLC email. I'm also confused on why they would want to use our prosecutor's office when they have an actual municipal attorney on staff there. Beck Wickwire's credentials are outstanding. In fact, at previous meetings, they have brought up her impressive qualifications. Mr. Moyle's constant disinformation and contradictions on the subject of this attorney is troubling, to say the least. I encourage everyone in our community to go back and watch the publicly available meetings on YouTube. The progression of his push to hire this attorney is astounding. I would also like to address Mr. Peterson's statement in the CBS 19 article when Prosecutor Whitman talked with Commissioner Peterson and View, and they were both surprised by the letter and its contents. Yet once again, Mr. Peterson made a 180 when confronted, and all of a sudden, he now stands by what Dave wrote in the paper. That isn't leadership. I would also like to remind the commissioners, social media and the internet is publicly available when you post your recordings. As public officials, you should absolutely expect to be scrutinized for those remarks and videos. You are representing the entire county. The entire county has the absolute right to be informed of their leaders. Thank you for your time.
Is that final?
That's it.
All right.
Thank you.
One last call. That's it?
I'm going to leave the meeting.
Yep.
Because I have
I
no
understand.
to run. And Ashley can take over. You're done with the business of the meeting anyways.
Pretty much. Commissioners' concerns. Mr. Peterson.
Well, here we go again. I did not make this. This was handed to me by Brady Irving prior to one of the meetings. So as far as me not getting a picture, got upside down, sorry. As far as me not getting a picture with my eyes blacked out, I showed it last week, I'll show it again.
No, they weren't passed out.
You are out of order, madam.
They weren't passed
You are out of order, madam. Please, continue, sir.
Now, I don't know what to hit next. I've got a prepared speech here, and I've got another issue that I want to bring up. Don't know exactly how to do it, but it has to be done. Somebody from the team, the people that are trying to recall us, Friday sent me an email. And there was some verbiage on it in the beginning. And I read the verbiage, and I didn't go much farther than that. I thought it had ended. Until I went to show it to somebody else. Okay. Until I went to show it to the sheriff. And, or I should say, I looked at it more closely, and then I went to the sheriff. On my county email, I was sent an email with pornography on it. Now, I don't know if you think that's funny. I don't know if you think that that's something that should be done. But I never want to see it on my email again. I did not ask for it. I do not want it. Let's be adults, for Christ's sakes. Why would anybody send pornography to me on my county email? That being said, I have another statement like I did the last time. And this is concerning the list that I got that was being passed out.
You are out of order, madam. That's the last
It
time.
was being shown to people, it was being shown to people when my recall petitions were being handed out. Anyway, this is my statement. First, I was reluctant to run for this seat on the county board, but nobody else ran on either side. So I stepped up. I thought I would use the opportunity to try and move Delta County forward, and have worked hard to do just that. I never in my wildest imaginations thought I would be getting dragged into the game of destruction politics in this county. What I would like to talk about are all the positive things we have done for Delta County. Instead, I'm defending myself and other board members from half-truths at best and outright lies at worst. I have a list that has been handed out when circulating recall petitions. I would like to address some of these falsehoods. I will give the statement on the flyer first, then the truth. 1, after the firing of the county administrator and hiring someone with no experience, the county missed out on some of the $64 million for affordable housing from grants because they didn't apply before the deadline. First, I'm disgusted that our administrator is even brought up any negative way. Ashley Young stepped into the position of administrator and has been doing an outstanding job ever since. Ashley has been doing not just the administrator job, but also human resources and financial. Ashley stepped in and saved our airport from possibly being shut down when the previous manager quit with only 2 days' notice, leaving an assistant that had only started 1 day prior. The grant that was mentioned on the flyer was for low-income housing. Delta County has no projects that qualify for that grant. Also, the county does not build nor manage any type of housing, so why would we waste taxpayers' money by applying for it? 2, hiring of Miles' personal attorney for county business, who happens to be the attorney for one of the men charged in the kidnapping of Governor Whitmer, and also the attorney for the man who was harassing Kelly Van Ginhoven and now has an ankle monitor. He awaits trial. Yes, we did hire, and this is my response, yes, we did hire Attorney Scott Graham. I interviewed him, as should have all the other commissioners. He came across as a very accomplished, very fair counselor. I know there are a lot of people saying we should utilize our prosecuting attorney. From what I have been told, many other officials from other municipalities across the state and an attorney from MAC, that most municipalities in Michigan do utilize outside counsel. Our prosecuting attorney is already very busy and shorthanded, as she has stated in correspondence to the Board of Commissioners. 3, statement on the flyer. Bringing it to the Board of Delta Counties become a constitutional county, so law enforcement does not have to enforce the laws if they don't want to. As far as I'm concerned, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and any laws that subvert that document are illegal. I am proud that we took a small step towards returning to the founding principles, even if it's only concerning the Second Amendment at this time. The Delta County Board has always and will continue to support law enforcement to enforce all laws that are within the bounds of the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Michigan. 4, denouncing DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, which promoted the fair treatment and full participation for all people, especially those who are discriminated against because of the identity or disability. Every county and municipality supported it, and the county did for years until now. Response: we have always supported equal and fair treatment of all citizens of the U.S. I feel that the large majority of people are not racist nor bigoted, although there are always individuals who are ignorant and abusive to others. Delta County citizens as a whole are good and fair people, and to treat them otherwise is in itself unfair and unethical. Number 5, Moyle started a rumor that the airport had a security breach, thus the FBI was called in, starting harassing the airport manager until she resigned after Emily was fired. I will ask Commissioner Moyle to address that, as it mentions him. Elimination of the Ethics Committee and policies. As far as the Ethics Committee, we did discuss other ways to handle this situation. None of the other ways we discussed were going to work out, so we left the old policy and committee in place. The cancellation of Delta Conservation District contract and then reinstating it with the substantial increase for Roy Mattson. We did then replace the contract with Conservation District. We did not give any increase in pay to Mr. Mattson. We have no power over Mr. Matson's wages. He is an employee of the district, not the county. The new contract is paying the same as the old contract. The only changes to the contract had to do with the duration of the contract. People complained about the county not running the parks and forests, so we worked out a quick and efficient method of transferring power back to the county, and people are now upset that we are not holding the district accountable to the original contract. The elimination of Zoom, since the firing administrator, because she ran it and the new one can't, so now handicapped or homebound can't participate in the meetings. My reply, Zoom was set up due to COVID. Most municipalities have removed it, and contrary to popular belief, Zoom never worked properly. It would require a substantial cost to have the proper equipment. 9, the lack of progress on the security at the airport, or at the courthouse that was asked for in January. The county board has worked diligently and passed the budget to provide the security for the courthouse. If we could wave a magic wand, it would have been done immediately. There are other people involved that need time to get quotes, line up contractors, and our overworked, understaffed maintenance crew had the burden of implementing this endeavor. The process is moving forward as quickly as possible. 10, voted to give Roy Matson control of the gate at the Cornell property that connects the county property. Roy locks the gate, and anyone that wants to go on the property has to ask Roy to unlock it. Last but not least, the county board never voted to give Mr. Matson control of the gates on the county forest. No one has to contact Mr. Matson to get on the property. I just visited the county forest just last week, which we wouldn't even have if it weren't for the efforts of Mr. Matson. The only gates I found that were locked were the gates that kept motorized vehicles off the walking trails. If we would have done something so egregious as to warrant a recall, I would not be taking the time to dispel these statements. However, I will take the time to refute these false statements as they surface. The items they are accusing us of are not only on their face false, but also do not show up on their application for recall. Thank you.
Mr. Few.
I'll shorten mine up. I was glad, is this on? Can you hear
You're
me?
on.
Okay, I was glad to hear that. I just want to make the comment that we're all human, we all make mistakes. I probably make more than most. I paid for them too, but I'm willing to work with this board. I'm gonna, it's difficult as commissioners when we can't talk to each other, more than one commission on a subject. So I just want the public to know that. But I also want the commission to also know that I've never said that I can recall anything super negative or very negative about any of our commissioners on this board. On the contrary, there's a lot said about me, but I don't go on social media, so I can't prove it. But I just wish we would get that behind us, and I'm hoping tonight we will, because I'm gonna shorten my thing up and go right into some positive stuff that I'd like our, give some direction to our administrator and administration. I crossed a couple things off because I was assured that we were gonna be working on the opioid task stuff and that, but the other thing I got a list of 14 things, I'm probably only gonna mention 5, but I would like to make a motion, and I'm told I can make a motion during my comments. If nobody supports it, that's fine. I would like to give the administrator direction to look at the VSO in their staffing and funding and come back to the commission with some recommendations. That's my motion.
I'll support that motion.
We have a motion to have Ashley look at the VSO, Veteran Service Officer, for those of you who need with the acronym.
Yep.
To look at his staffing and funding and return to us by what date, sir?
By the end of the year, I would like
Okay, so-
some recommendations so that we move forward with
In
that.
calendar year 2023.
Are you writing that down, Ashley, so that we
I
have it?
would think so, yes.
Well, I'll say one thing one way for a second and I'll forget what I said,
Would you
so.
please repeat the motion so the commissioner knows you have it?
Commissioner View, motion to look, have an administrator, it's weird talking to myself in third person. Administrator Young, look at staff funding,
Staffing and funding.
staffing and funding recommendation
Back to the board by the
by
end.
year end,
Yep.
calendar year end.
Yeah, not fiscal.
Right, because in my brain, I
Yeah,
look
that's all
at
right.
fiscal.
You happy with that, sir?
Thanks for helping me.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes, Steve.
Okay, I'd like
In
to make
Clerk
another
Prince Rocky,
motion.
It's on YouTube. Just in
Pardon?
case, I said Clerk Prince Rocky, it's on YouTube in case I don't take good enough notes.
All right, I would like to make another motion that we look into and do a workforce compensation analysis, cost recommendation, and check into Mac's ability to give us that information by the end of the year, because we have 3 contracts coming up next year, and we've talked a lot about, we're
We have
all
a
under.
motion on the floor. I need a second, then I've got a
Oh,
question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Well, Commissioner View, what was that, workforce?
Workforce study with compensation analysis and cost, just to see where we are, not to do it.
We have a
but to
motion
get
on
the
the floor.
cost.
We got to wait for the second to come in before we continue.
Well, she's getting the motion, correct.
She's trying.
I know, I'm tough.
No, you're good.
Okay, do we have a second to that motion?
I'll support that motion too.
Okay, my question is, what the hell you taught, what is a workforce, I mean, it was
Just to
very
make sure
intimidating.
somebody isn't overworked, underworked, that we're.
So
we're
please
efficient.
repeat what it is in its entirety, so the board can grab on what you're talking about. A workforce analysis?
Well, it's a workforce study. Number one is, it'll look at your workforce to make sure that there's somebody isn't overworked, or you're not understaffed, you know, and also the cost analysis of how we compare to similar positions in our county and similar counties.
Like a wage study.
Yeah.
You
Okay, so we have would it be fair to say a job duty analysis?
I don't know if this is what I was told through MAC, that we probably should do, and they can help us. We're not doing it, we're looking for the cost that's entailed in doing this, because there's a lot of negatives in doing this.
So we want
And there's a
estimates
lot-
on a workforce,
Well, did we get a second?
yes, you have a second, Mr.
Okay.
Peterson seconded you. We're in the discussion part, and I'm doing this for clarification, not to be devil's
No,
advocate.
no, I agree.
So you have a request to do you want an estimate for a workforce analysis looking at job duties and wages.
Yeah, you get a consultant, it's like an RFP or something.
Do you understand that, Ashley? All right, very good. So what, if I may, I don't mean to be, Mr. View has asked through his motion for an estimate or a cost on how much it would cost to do a
They're
job
expensive.
duty. Well, I don't want to interrupt her. I don't want to speak for you. I mean, seriously, if I am, cut me off. So you want a job duty,
Have Ashley read what I said.
that would be much simpler, thank you.
Commissioner View motioned for Administrator Young to look into estimates for the work study analysis and a workforce study and a compensation package
God
analysis.
bless your mind, because mine sure had it lost.
I mean, we talked about this, Ashley, so that's,
We did.
that's
All right, very good.
basically what
We
I
have a
want to
mo-
give her direction, so that's why I'm doing
We have a
this.
motion, we have a second. All those in favor, discussion, sorry?
We've already done the heart of the meeting, and is to bring up a bunch of motions during board comments. Is extending it here without really, none of us have any foreknowledge other than the motions you're bringing up here. I would rather see this put on a regular agenda rather than bringing it here, because we've had no opportunity for this, and generally, decisions made in haste are poor decisions.
These ain't decisions, though, they're directions.
They're still decisions. They're a motion, you're making a decision.
Well, Mr. Chair, I appreciate that, but I have brought this up numerous times over the last 6 months, and I have talked to Ashley, but we have no direction after we talk. So this is why I'm bringing them up now, so that she brings her recommendations back.
For future use, you can add it to an agenda if you wish. just for FYI.
No, I know that, but I was told this was proper to do it this way also.
I think it's
To get it-
legal.
To get it on the agenda and then have the recommendations that would come back of all the different, the benefits, the risk, things like that.
Okay, all right, so we have any additional discussion? We have Mr. View's motion. If Mr. Peters felt strongly, he would retract his motion. He's not doing so, so I think your point's well made, Bob, but, all right. We have, all in favor of seeking an estimate and directing administration for what she had just spoken, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
All right, so, do you have anything else, sir?
Well, I had two more, but I'll just.
Demotions?
Well, I want to move forward. I want this stuff to be looked at and start moving forward.
I'm not gonna
instead of
step on
sit-
you, make
instead-
them, I don't know if you can, go ahead.
Maybe I'll just mention, and we can put them on the next agenda. I want some information and strategy on our county grant rating procedure. Who's doing it or who's not doing it, or do we have to get somebody to do it? Because tonight, we missed out on Michigan Broadband Summit. I'm not accusing anyone, but I would have went to this and missed the meeting tonight, so you wouldn't have had to put up with me. Because there was a lot of money to become, that could have came into the county with this. But it looks like next time something like this comes up, a commissioner or somebody could do this. But, so I'm very interested in not losing grant money. And the other thing that I would just want to bring up is, I think we need to start the master plan update review or somehow. If we want to put that on the agenda with some documentation on how we go about that, that would be great for them two things. The other 9 things I'll leave for another meeting.
Thank you for the brevity in your, I appreciate it. I actually, some of the things you brought forward are very good, very poignant, but Mr. Melner, do you have anything?
Just the last thing that Commissioner View said about the master plan, that was supposed to go in front of the Finance Committee on the cost of it, was it not?
No, it
No?
wasn't. No, I had to have a conversation with Dottie, but
Oh.
when I get to mine, I will give an update.
Okay.
I forgot to add it to my administrator's report, sorry.
Okay, I've been helping or pretty much in contact with Enbridge as far as Line 5. And Senator McBroom's also been, and he was on the Facebook here, and he had a good speech, and we had a UP Commissioners meeting at the casino October 19th and 20th. And what he brought up was some of the permits that were being held up and one of them was the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. They were holding everything up because of a 1/4 acre of property. Since then, I guess, sounds like that's been recently approved. Recently, the Michigan Senate Republicans called the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to speed up the permit processing. So there was 17 senators that are involved in this. We're talking about utilities and everything. I was at a MAC meeting about a year ago and talked to a huge company down there. And they said as soon as the tunnel gets built, they're gonna run a line through it for power for the UP. So that would be great for having more energy up here. So that's about all I got.
Can I real quick, hold on that? I shut it off. The Line 5 tunnel, actually, there will be a lot of utilities going through it. I talked to, just at, down in Kalamazoo, when I was down in Kalamazoo, I was talking to an electric company down there that is going to.
Same one.
Yep, that's gonna bring bring electricity through that, which will help cut the cost of electricity up here. The longer they fight the tunnel under the lake, the higher our electric rates are gonna go. And that's all I wanted to say.
All right, very good, Mr. Barron.
All right. I've got a couple of quotes tonight. I enjoy these things, and I enjoy giving them here. This is from Winston Churchill. Men occasionally tumble over the truth, but most of them pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing ever happened. What's another one from Thomas Jefferson? On matters of style, swim with the current. On matters of principle, stand like a rock. Thank you.
Ashley?
Yeah, on the master plan, so I did speak with Dottie about that.
You need to quiet in the audience, please.
We spoke on October 30th, so it did not make it onto the finance committee agenda, because I already posted the agenda. But anyways, I was wondering if we needed to even put on our RFP, how far we needed to update the master plan. We had a $10,000 threshold. If any services below $10,000, I did not even have to put on an RFP, and we could have just asked UpCap to provide those services for us. However, she believes that our master plan does need a lot more update, and it's going to cost us over $10,000. So we will be having to put an RFP out. I will be utilizing the RFP that we put out, I believe it would have been in 2019. She did say that she would be more than happy to review to make sure that it's still compliant for our 2023 update, 2024 update. But they would have to also bid on the project just like anyone else. So that's where we're at right now. So we'll have to bring out the
Thank you.
RFP template.
So I have a bunch here, and I'll try to get to as much as I can without keeping you here. Mr. Adamini and myself have been friends 40 years. He's someone that I have a lot of love and fondness for. At the last meeting, Chili DeCastro came in, and I was gobsmacked. And so that was a misstep of mine, sitting here like this. I shouldn't have let him go on. You get 3 minutes per person. Nobody can advocate for anybody else. My fault. Okay, I accept that. The 14th of June, 2022 was the first time I had seen Scott Graham and the first time I had met Scott Graham. He represented, at that point, my wife. We were going to be divorced a month and a half later, and I was so impressed by watching how he operated in court. I wanted that for the peoples of the county, and no matter what you say or accuse me of, I'm never going to recant that, okay? I want Delta County to have that kind of lawyer if we ever have to go to federal court. Now, with that, he was not my friend. We have become, I think, friends through talking with each other, but we're not the kind of friends who would sit down and have a beer. We just talk to each other on the phone about county issues from time to time. In answering to Whitney Morgan, I guess I did. I made a mistake. I had no realize that 13 of the counties in the state of Michigan utilize their prosecuting attorneys for their corporate counsel, and I stand by so far. I admit I made a mistake. You want to, burn me for that, that's fine. You'll find a lot to go and burn me on. But honesty, I don't get anything from Scott Graham other than the fact that I know that he is an excellent lawyer and that he, if you will take some time to think about his last ruling regarding this recall, he ruled against me. I'm not saying throw the bum out. I wasn't happy about this, but I am confident in the fact in knowing that the people of Delta County got the best decision on what was pre-existing case law and the 2019 decision by the Supreme Court. So I still support Scott Graham as our local, not prosecutor, but municipal counsel, and I'm hoping he and Ms. Wickman can get together and have a discussion and can develop some type of relationship. Now, if you have somebody who you see performing a service, even a lawyer, and you're in awe of that service, and you want to have that for the people that mean a lot to you, I don't see where that's a problem. I stand by that. Mr. Adamini, I did not bring Chili DeCastro into town, and I would really appreciate your acknowledgement that I wouldn't know how to get a hold of the guy. I don't think cops are pigs. Todd Tardif has been a lifelong friend, and I support Todd 100%. And I cannot support anything that calls cops pigs. They run to what we run from. And I think if you look at my voting record, you'll see why I can pass that with find me one instance where I voted to defund police or haven't given the sheriff what he wants. You won't. You're going to find complete support for that. Now, as far as ejecting a vet, I don't enjoy doing that. I asked the man more than 4 times to stop doing that. Being a United States Marine, they understand what rules are, and I understand exactly, and so do you. You know exactly what's going on, okay? I'm not asking you to like me. I'm asking you to respect the fact that the work of the people through procedure can get done. And nobody, if you don't like the way our current policies are, get yourself elected and change them. I had to seek corporate counsel to make sure that the meetings were getting so out of hand that we could, I don't like doing it, I didn't want to do it, I asked him, policy says twice, I think I asked him 4 or 5 times. All right, that was his decision, I deeply regret it, but I want you to know one thing, if this does go to court, I will see the people of Delta County made whole. And you can investigate that legally if you want, all right? If you want to bring it to court and you want to stand on the fact that you think your First Amendment rights have been violated, get an attorney, take a look at the Michigan Open Meetings Act, and then look at the federal case law that supports the fact that maybe they don't want to do it, a municipality doesn't want to do it, but if we have to eject someone from a meeting so the work of the people can be completed, it's unfortunate, but that's what we did tonight. It was not me throwing him out. This board voted to have him leave the room. Okay, in reference to our airport manager, we now have a manager and assistant manager, and I'm very happy with the direction they're going. We spent $5,000 on a complaint which said that I harassed the old manager. That was warrantless. It was found untrue. I went out once, and I'll defend this until my dying day. I go to different departments. That doesn't mean I'm checking on the department head. I don't know when the department heads are there. I don't micromanage. We are doing now exactly what I wanted to get done, and that's the SIDNA certification. And because we got Billerud coming in with a large amount of tractors shortly. Now, I did not start a rumor saying that there was a security breach. I wouldn't know if there was a security breach. I received a letter from a local resident, since it's to a public figure. If you want to know who that is, I'll tell you. And that said, somebody's coming up from Florida, they're going to hold our airport hostage. Well, to me, that smacks of domestic terrorism. So what I did is I called public safety and said, I got this email here, what do I do? They took it in and I went in to see the TSB. This is what I heard, what do I do? That's not starting a rumor. She asked me in that email, what are you prepared to do, Commissioner Moyle? So I moved on what she asked. Now I'm getting the hell beaten out of me for it. I'll do it again if somebody sends me another crazy email like that saying people are coming up from Florida. Why would they come up from Florida to hold our airport hostage? What are they going to gain? Vending machine? I don't. Anyway, the recall, we can agree to disagree with this. You're not stopping the voice of the people. The people spoke in November of 2022, all right? They spoke clearly on the 8th. Your right to recall me is intact. My right to appeal and to challenge every signature that I believe is something wrong on that page, that's the law, Michigan election law. And I'm going to make sure that Michigan election law is followed, and if you don't like it, I don't care. I don't have any power that I can pull out of my pocket. What I'm going to do is ask for remedy and to make sure that every signature on those pages follows the circulator's certificate and Michigan election law, and that is not illegal and it's not unethical. And I disagree with my dear friend of 40 years. This is all on political lines, and I'm sorry. Well, you're out of order. You had your chance to speak. I didn't interrupt you. Please give me the same. So I wish you a safe evening, and I thank you for coming in, even if I don't want to hear what you have to say. I respect your right to say it. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. You're going to have it back, Ash. Can we speak when you get a minute?
Good job.
Oh, thanks. Oh,
You're gonna get that. You know that. That Public Service Commission, you're gonna be going to them. And we have 1 year to comply with. Just to let you
where
know.
to?
It's still another year.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's whatever the time sequence is. Right now, we're shut down. So
No, I
we can't
know,
even
but-
move forward. But this is
Thank
only
you.
another step. There's no
When
guarantee
did
that
you
it's going to
come?
be any solar.
Let me check.
Absolutely done.
This is a better step for freedom.